This is DC on Screen. Programming note. Christopher Nolan's controversial quotes regarding Warner Bros. 2021 Slate releasing same day on HBO Max dropped while we were recording. Here's a brief snippet of our initial thoughts. Oh, man.
What it is?
I just actually saw some of these Nolan comments.
Oh, yeah. Just fuck that guy. Tone deaf as balls.
Yeah. It's like, oh my lord. He calls HBO Max the worst streaming service. Their decision makes no economic sense. Dude.
The fuck it doesn't. Are you?
He forced them to put freaking Tenet out in the middle of COVID.
Mm-hmm.
He's the reason this is happening in a lot of ways. Like, what an idiot. I more and more reasons to dislike this guy.
I'm never going to see Tenet at this point. I didn't care enough before. I don't care enough about him as a filmmaker. He made both one of the best movies I've ever seen. That also, by the way, as you and I went through for about 3 hours, has many problems. And made another 4 hours of content for us that we honestly cut in half. Fuck that guy.
Mm-hmm. We'll get into Nolan's full quotes and all that folderol next week. Now, as for this week, you can only buy one Bugatti per film now.
I'm like, I don't want to completely get on board with the fuck the rich sentiment, but I get it.
All that and a little more right after these ads from somebody that we have no control over. Welcome into DC On Screen episode 620. This is the podcast where we talk about the DC Comics multiverse on film and television, give honest opinions on projects upcoming and past, and believe that every version of a property is valid, even if we don't want it to be. If it's been released, it is fair game, so beware of spoilers, and welcome to the show. I'm David C. Robertson, and this, the man who orchestrated the Utah monolith hoax subconsciously through a lucid dream, Jason Goss.
That's pretty good. Fun night.
Yeah, I had fun writing that one.
Mm-hmm. I think somebody did triangulate all three positions, and it was something real stupid, like a Best Buy or some shit, just something ridiculous.
That is really great.
Maybe it was even a fast food restaurant or something. It was meaningless, utterly meaningless.
Yeah, I've been pretty pleased with all of that.
Did you see the last installment on that? In California?
Yes, I did.
Where it got ripped down?
Yeah, well, I mean, it got ripped down in Utah, too. Like, the guy, had pictures of some random-ass dude showing up in a truck and just, deconstructing the shit and, covering their tracks.
Actually, that's pretty funny. No, the one in South California just got, people drove, 200 miles to destroy it because they wouldn't bow down to our alien overlords or some shit.
Oh,
just true crazy people stuff.
Oh man. Well, did you see the thing that just happened about the it was the Israeli guy, space security chief, former space security chief. What was his name? Ashed. He says that Israel's been in contact with the aliens.
The of monolith fame?
No, not necessarily them.
Okay, just in general.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I can't find it now.
One of the world's oldest civilizations? Sure, why not?
I mean, yeah, why?
That would seem to be relevant if it was an alien society. Well, who's actually been here the longest? Well, these five-ish. All right.
Yeah. It says the aliens are hiding. That's what he's claiming. Because humanity's not ready.
That's what he would say.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's probably
also,
true.
I feel like I've seen a movie about that. Maybe in 2013. Can't put my finger on it.
2013?
Mm-hmm.
Are you being facetious about not being able to put your finger on it?
Something about a dude of iron, maybe, or
a dude of iron.
Yeah.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, Man of Steel.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I thought you were talking about Iron Man. I'm like, that was 2008. What are you talking about? He wasn't an alien.
Iron wasn't a good word choice there, but still.
All right, before we jump into the news, because we do have kind of a lot. We didn't show up last week. Jason was busy.
Mm-hmm.
So before we jump into that, I do want to thank the patrons. $1 a month gets you every episode ad-free. $5 a month gets you that, plus whatever else we decide to put up. And it looks like I'll be putting up something special this month for Christmas.
Nice.
I don't want to spoil it. I also don't want to promise too much because I've intended to do it every year.
Oh, one of those.
That we've been doing it. It's produced. It's sitting here. I just always forget.
Okay. Well, I'll try to remind you.
Try to remind me.
We'll try to stay on top of that one this time.
If you don't want to deal with Patreon, if you're just like, I don't understand, or if you already do deal with Patreon and you want to help us out, like a certain patron that we're very thankful to, you can go to dconscreen.com and click the donate button. And that'll take you to a little PayPal donate screen, and you can set it up to subscribe to that, and it'll just take money out of your account every month and go directly to us, or you can do a one-time thing, and everything is appreciated, of course. And if you want to support the show and get some swag for it, I remembered this week we have a merch store, and I decided to go ahead and link it to dconscreen.com. It is right next to the donate button. It says store.
Straightforward enough.
And you can get some t-shirts and tapestries or some crap. I don't know, mugs and whatnot. iPhone cases. And of course, if you don't want to spend any money on us, but you still want to support us, you can always share us on social media and leave us a 5-star written review on Apple Podcasts. That always helps. Totally free. And one more announcement. We are in more places. We are now on Amazon Music and Audible.
Which was strange for me to find podcast at all on Audible, first of all, and then...
Well, I was wondering about it because Kevin Hart kept saying it on the commercial.
Yeah.
And then his dog went into that other guy's house, and I got distracted and was like, how is that even happening? Oh, I get it.
I haven't heard any of that. I just saw, I was listening to Malcolm Gladwell or some shit and looked in and it was like, what kind of podcast would you like to listen to? And I'm like, that's not for you. You're 8 hours at a time, not 30 to an hour and a half at a time.
Or if you're listening to Joe Rogan, 8 hours at a time.
Or I didn't tell you about this. I found I've seen this book around for a long time, but I never actually stopped to grab it. And I finally was like, man, I really need to do this. And then found a copy of it online that had 1,700 pages. And I thought, Jesus, that's insane. And it's only volume 1 up to 1962, but it's called Tune In by Mark Lewison. Because it's Lewison and because it's, that thorough, it's going to end up being probably the most thorough Beatles biography I've ever read. And so far is. I know what their grandparents were up to.
Oh gosh.
Saucy characters, a lot of them. But the version of the book that you could get that was just the regular version, the not deluxe, was still 800 pages. And I don't know which version was available on Audible, but I was like, you know what? I'm going to spend a credit on this. 43 hours. The book is 43 hours.
That's not okay.
I was delighted. I was like, this is my next 2 months. Yes.
What will one of these exhaustive autobiographies look like in the future? Where it's just
oh, mind you, this was volume 1.
Yeah, on December 7th, Paul had what appeared to be a piece of king cake that he posted on Instagram.
Oh, what's crazy is so far it's all very detailed and actually kind of oriented toward where did they pick up certain proclivities and where did Lennon got his first harmonica a certain way, and then even referencing in a later interview where he's like, oh, it was a bright day, that one, it's actually just all very, very relevant stuff.
George found his first guitar pick inside of a hooker's vagina.
Yeah. It was even George, George, them trying to get George to go to church when he was young, and then interviews later where he was like, I just didn't get the whole, organized thing. But, he put it was I saw that guy walking up with the cross, and it was something to that. But all these folks, I don't know. He just kind of bailed on the whole thing. I don't know. It's already interesting. I'm a few hours in and way more enthralled than I expected.
Yeah. Well, that's, I expected you to be very enthralled by that. So,
well, 43 hours for me, and as many biographies as I've read, it was I don't know if I'm going to be able to, surely they're just going to be retreading some stuff here and there. I'm no, I'm genuinely just no. And then got into a couple other things where I was he'd go into detail, it'd be 20 minutes of him talking about one minor incident that happened where I was I did have questions about that. It did seem like they glossed over that when I read about it earlier.
Yeah. So, for all of you people out there listening, I implore you to remember 43 hours every time you hear Jason say, I don't have time. Because I'm sure as hell going to remember it.
Usually I don't have time to put things into my brain. Well, I can put that into my brain while my hands are doing other things.
And it'll slide right into my head right before I utter, you son of a bitch.
Actually, I saw this. This was really well put by somebody. Like, it was just some fucking Twitter post or something. But somebody said, like, you ever watch something and you're like, I only have 30% of my brain available, and I can't watch this show right now because this show is going to require at least 60% of my brain. So I'm going to have to switch to something else. I hadn't heard it phrased that way, but I do that a lot. Where I'm like watching, I'm like, I don't have time to pay enough attention right now.
Yeah, no, I do that.
I'm gonna have to back burner this. Let's go rewatch some Rick and Morty.
Yeah, I got to be careful because stuff like Rick and Morty, I'll just wind up sitting there just letting it engulf me. Like I don't care how many times I've seen it. I'll just sit there and stare and like it's bad. It's bad. Like. Bethany will throw on something like that in the background, and she'll be telling me a story. She'll have it muted, and then realize I'm not listening because I'm staring at the screen. Like,
because you kind of know the dialogue, and you're still watching the scene.
Yeah. I'm just like, what's going to happen now? Like, I already know what's going to happen now, Dave.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway,
I did that. I was just half paying attention the other day because I put on Watchmen in the background. And I was barely paying attention. And then like something would happen and, it'd be one of those lines or something like that where I would just be like, I'd be folding laundry, not even watching the screen, blah, 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 blah. You don't understand. I'm not locked in here with you. You're locked in here with me. Still completely paying attention, I guess, on one trail because I was like, I knew when the line was coming.
Naturally. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Without condoning or condemning, I understand.
Yep. All right. Let's do some of this news, man. Let's do some of this news.
Let's get into it.
All right. So I'm assuming you've heard that Joss Whedon exited the Nevers from HBO Max. Yeah. Well, HBO said we have parted ways with Joss Whedon. We remain excited about the future of the Nevers and look forward to his premiere in the summer of 2021. And longtime Whedon collaborators Jane Espenson and Doug Petrie, who are also writing, and Bernie Caulfield, who is executive producing. Let's see. They said this year of unprecedented challenges has impacted my life and this was Whedon. Sorry, what am I doing? I don't know what I'm doing.
All right, go ahead.
Okay, so the show is still going to be run by longtime Whedon collaborators Jane Espenson and Doug Petrie, who are also writing, and Bernie Caulfield, who's executive producing.
There we go.
But, Whedon came out and said, this year of unprecedented challenges has impacted my life and perspective in ways I could never have imagined, I bet. And while developing and producing the Nevers has been a joyful experience, I realize that the level of commitment required moving forward, combined with the physical challenges of making such a huge show during a global pandemic, is more than I can handle without the work beginning to suffer. I am genuinely exhausted and am stepping back to marshal my energy towards my own life, which is also at the brink of exciting change. I am deeply proud of the work we have done. I'm grateful to all of my extraordinary cast and collaborators and to HBO for the opportunity to shape yet another strange world. The Nevers is a true labor of love, and after 2+ years of labor, love is about all I have to offer. It will never fade.
That is a man who is no longer writing his own PR.
That's right. That doesn't even sound like Whedon.
Doesn't even sound like him. If it's not a man who's writing his PR, that is a man who has been in a lot of very intensive therapy in the last several months.
Or intensive investigations.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. He might, and good for him if he is. He clearly needs it. But he really legit might be seeing somebody.
I mean, I'm sure he is. But Ray Fisher said, I have no intention of allowing Joss Whedon to use the old Hollywood tactic of exiting, stepping down, or walking away to cover for his terrible behavior. Warner Media's Justice League investigation has been in full swing for over 3 weeks now. This is undoubtedly a result of it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It's the first thing I thought.
I do. I actually really do hope he's in therapy because based on what I've heard, he clearly has needed it for some time. Doesn't mean he's not accountable. You still got to deal with the shit you did.
Yeah, you're still the Jelly Bean King.
Yeah. I shouldn't have mentioned Rick and Morty. I feel like you're just going to be like littering us with those references from now.
No, maybe not. I just couldn't help it in the moment. I couldn't help but equate his actions, his behavior, his, hey, I'm a good guy, and then all of a sudden I'm going to try to have my way with you in a bathroom stall. Behavior, and quite frankly, his physical looks with the Jelly Bean King. Like, I just, from Rick and Morty, like, you just put the Jelly Bean King's head on top of Whedon's body, he still just looks like Joss Whedon. So
I don't remember it well enough, and I'm not going to fight you on it. Also, you remember the end of the episode where they actually do find the photos, and they're like, oh God.
Yep.
Yeah. But I think the big derivation, hopefully, is that in that episode they find the photos and they're like, oh God, he wasn't who we thought he was. And then they decide, like, the people can never know, and they burn the whole box of photos. Yeah. Whereas here, Ray Fisher grabbed the photos and fucking ran towards the nearest lawyer's office and said, nope, I got him now, bitches.
Yep. You go, Ray.
You do it. Show everybody.
Do that shit, Ray. Do it.
Yeah, man.
Just like before you got all cyborged and you were with the football and the Snyder cut that I haven't seen yet.
Oh, yeah. I do remember that. And I don't know if it'd be him or Ezra that grabbed the box and ran. I feel like both of them could outrun Whedon.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like though, like, Ezra may not have good cardio for some reason.
Right.
Seems like one of those guys that's naturally skinny. Doesn't have to do that a lot.
Right. I think my play would be, Ray, take the pictures, run to the lawyer.
I think Ray Fisher's probably in the best shape to, like, if I had to pick somebody, I'd be like, Ray, you're fucking 6'3" and you look like you played football. Go, man, go.
Right. Go, man, go. Ezra, choke Whedon out. Make sure he doesn't.
Ezra, I need you to go stand behind him. Ben, push him. Or go to that thing where you kneel behind him, and quietly.
Just go choke slam up against the wall and make sure no one's recording you this time.
Yeah. Oh, Gal, get out of the room. Ezra. We made you a promise.
Oh, Ezra. Anyway.
One of our worst sidebars. Go ahead.
Yes.
Feel terrible about everything that just happened. Please move on.
That was close to Orson Welles. Yes. Warner Brothers. Mm-hmm. Made some big waves, man. They're releasing all of their 2021 movies on HBO Max same day as the theatrical release, and it's going to be the same as Wonder Woman 84. You don't have to pay extra; you just have to be an HBO subscriber.
There's a lot that I'm curious about, and I'm just going to try to, like, stay quiet as much as I can because I have so many questions that I feel like you're going to answer.
Yeah, probably.
Because there was in particular an article that you've read I haven't yet.
Right.
But I just also have so many thoughts on this.
All right, so let's get into this a little bit here. Now, of course, the movie theaters are pretty much remaining closed. So
I mean, they're closed until
good Lord
we learn otherwise. Like, we don't have, there's no date in mind yet.
There are a few that are open, but I mean, it's very limited. And also, Tenet did not do well. No one's going to the theater. It says every WB movie set to hit theaters in 2021 will be following the release model of Wonder Woman 1984, which, by the way, is only going to be on HBO Max streaming for a month.
Okay.
For 1 month, and then it'll go to, like, VOD and shit. They will still be released in whatever theaters are open, but they will also debut on HBO Max the same day. This includes The Suicide Squad, The Matrix 4, Dune, The Many Saints of Newark, In the Heights, Space Jam: A New Legacy, Mortal Kombat, Godzilla vs. Kong. I mean, it's like 17 different movies.
Some of which there is no way I would have seen without this being an option.
No, and that's an important thing to remember is I would have not gone to the theaters for most of these.
Yeah, like,
I will probably watch them all.
But now you're telling me I can sit at home and watch a Mortal Kombat movie? Oh, fuck yeah. I'm popping the corn right now.
Yeah. I mean, I won't watch Godzilla vs. Kong, but
I'll even watch that one. Hell, I might watch Tom and Jerry.
Are they talking? Do you know?
That's a good question.
I don't like when they talk.
I think I would like the movie more if it was an hour and 20 and they never said a word.
Yeah.
Like, other than some, like, expulsions, kind of, oof, that kind of stuff.
I know in, like, the late 90s, early 2000s, they did a movie where they talked, and I was just like, yeah, I'm not on board for that.
Ruin the magic. I want 2 hours of them chasing each other around and outwitting them.
Like, oh, gosh, Tom. No.
Yeah.
Now, Warner Brothers is stressing that this will not be permanent. Only 2021 films are a part of this plan, which is in direct response to the ongoing pandemic. There are no plans to continue this wave in 2022, at least for now. Look, I don't believe that it's not the plan. I just don't. I just don't. I think that it will probably have to do heavily with how well this does for HBO Max, but this doesn't feel like it's. I mean,
no. I mean,
Pandora's box has been opened.
The two thoughts that are going to pervade my thinking here are like, there's 3 viable vaccines that are about to hit the market.
Yeah.
When you do the math on how that's going to work, though, it's we're not out of this by a long shot yet, and it is getting cold, and it's not getting better. So vaccines aside, and for sure they're definitely going to help, but we're not. It's going to be months before we start to really know maybe when we're going to see the end of this. Before we have a clearer picture, I just a guess. I figure March before we really, really kind of know where we stand. But I mean, because there's other things like there's all the other companies are still working. Everybody wants a piece of the vaccine action as far as like getting it out there. If nothing, for historical and or monetary reasons, like there's a lot of stuff going on. But anyway, a lot of variables as to like when will theaters maybe be able to open again? Well, I don't know. No one knows. No one fucking knows. We know it's not in 2021. Like not widespread. We're not going to have a normal theater experience in 2021. That's a pretty good fucking bet.
Yeah.
So the other question is like, well, if they try this and it works to some extent, yeah, I'm with you. I'm not buying that it's not, not exactly the end game, I guess, but that this isn't maybe part of the picture of how things are going to move forward. Because you and I have been talking for 3-4 years now about how like the theater model is not sustainable.
No, it wasn't before COVID.
Yeah, dude. I mean, before the virus ever evolved, it was already it was already an unsustainable model in a lot of ways. Don't get me wrong, there's a lot to be said for it. There's all kinds of, that's a whole argument by itself. But it was always it was making money, but just barely finding a way to make money. And, more and more people complaining about how it cost them $200 to take, them and 2 kids out at this point, and it just not being worth it anymore.
Yeah.
And with the rise of streaming, like, yeah, dude, just the market's changed so much. And this was, what they'd call a catalyst.
And there are plenty of people pointing out,
a disruptor.
You got Endgame making $2 billion. Look at all these record-breaking. Yes, there were record-breaking box office totals, but at the same time, they're upping their prices.
Yeah,
guys,
compared, look.
But that doesn't affect their business model. Their business model is shit. It always has been. Like, movie theaters been going downhill for years.
Let me run this by you. Production budget for Tenet, $205 million. Worldwide box office for that movie was 1.8 times that. Like they made 359, they spent 205, and the 205 is not all inclusive. It's just not. There's more that goes into that. It's probably honestly a lot closer to 250 or 3. Like they didn't make any money. All they did was prove that money could not be made with a theatrical release right now. That's all they proved.
Yep.
So for Christopher Nolan, of all people to be mad about this, absolutely go climb a rope, man.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't heard anything from him except the whine about precedent and stuff, but he's gonna do that anyway.
I saw a few quotes just glancing through my phone right before while we were getting set up, and I was like, man, sorry, like this isn't like this. First of all, this may not be the end. So it may be supplementary. It may be literally just a stopgap measure because they have to find a way to get some stuff in. Because what else are you gonna do? Are you gonna how many was it? 16 movies that they're already in?
17. Yeah.
And are you gonna like release one every week for the first quarter of 2022 and try to make that up? Or are you going to make everyone wait for John Wick 4 for another 2 years? No, you're not going to make any fucking money that way. Like it's not going to happen. You just don't, you can't pretend it's going to happen. You're going to have to you're going to have to do the best you can with what you got for now. If things change, we can maybe go back to some version of the other stuff, but it's just not realistic.
And look, man, I don't personally care for the theatrical experience necessarily. I like seeing it on a big screen, but also I don't like being around people. I don't like that variable. I don't like how, we went to a movie theater to see the Avengers and their freaking heads were cut off. Like, it was cropped awful. It was bad. Terrible experience. And you never have control over that shit. And I don't like that. I like to have control. I would cut down on, size of screen and massive ear-splitting freaking speaker systems if I could just have control. I don't need all that horrible loud noise anyway. But I'm an old man.
It's always mixed a little weird for me, just for my taste.
Yeah, I agree with that too.
There's and there's a lot to be said for dynamics. Trust me, I get it. You know, I've listened to all the 60s music as well. Mm-hmm. A lot of it, obviously, not all, but I understand the importance of dynamics in music. I get it. I get the importance of dynamics in the soundtrack of a movie. I get that too, or the score of a movie, or just even the fucking sound design and Foley of the movie. I get it. But in a theater, it does feel like when the action's big enough, you literally can't hear some things. And this is not with all movies, mind you, but sometimes it gets to a point where it's so overmixed and saturated in the big points that you can't even completely distinguish what's going on. And then it gets down to the fine points and you're like craning your ear to figure out what two people are talking about.
Yeah.
And that to me has always been a bigger problem at home because it's partly on me for sure. I've never spent enough money to make sure that my sound system that I was watching movies on was so good that it couldn't be flawed. Mm-hmm. Same time, I've had times where I've had literally studio quality monitors set up to this thing, and I've had the same problem.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, man. There's a lot that you could tweak at home. There's a lot you could personalize to the experience. There's a lot on the table for people.
Mm-hmm. But I think that should be there, though. And as for theaters, desperation breeds innovation. Mm-hmm. So if, we have a lot of theater, or we have a lot of filmmakers who are, pitching their little fits. And this is not big. They say that it is. We'll get to it. But I'm telling you, they're saying it's for artistic reasons. And maybe it is. Maybe for someone like Nolan it is. But a lot of these people just want their back in. That's what
Nolan's another one of those where it's like he'll say it's for artistic purposes. And yes, a lot of his movies look fantastic, but they sound like shit.
His action is shit.
Well, there's that a little bit, but I go back and forth. He's impressed me sometimes, and other times it falls flat for me. Whatever, just a subjective thing. But honestly, a lot of his movies, I cannot fucking tell what they're saying.
Yeah,
like Bane was, I don't know, like the jump the shark moment for me, where I was like, I wanted captions while he was speaking English on the fucking screen.
Yeah, I feel you, man. Anyway, yeah. All right, I don't know where I'm at.
Somewhere after me bitching and on to the next thing I'm going to bitch about.
Oh, right. Ann Sarnoff, CEO and Warner Media Chair, said, "We're living in unprecedented times which call for creative solutions, including this new initiative for the Warner Brothers Pictures Group. No one wants films back on the big screen more than we do. We know new content is the lifeblood of theatrical exhibition, but we have to balance this with the reality that most theaters in the U.S. will likely operate at reduced capacity throughout 2021. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Now,
again, Tenet made $80 million domestically.
A new report from Bloomberg says that Warner Media boss Jason Kilar's plot to make his unprecedented move, which received much resistance internally from parent company AT&T, but the frequent collaborator Jason Blum said it was a bold move that could pay off in the middle of the COVID-19 pandemic. HBO Max just laid down the gauntlet. There's no other way to say it. If you want to keep up with pop culture, you will want to see those movies and subscribe to HBO Max. I think he's absolutely right.
It's going to be a test. It's a really nice natural experiment.
And according to this report, Hollywood was shocked by the move. Many executives, filmmakers, actors, crew members, and everyone down the line to receive a smaller paycheck without the promise of typical box office returns were upset by this thing. And with the pandemic still going on, there's no way to know when any of these films would be able to be seen anyway.
Like, in a world where it was released on normal terms, absolutely, I think this is going to be less money for you. And I'm sorry about that. But it's also, they're going to have to offset the cost to some extent because a lot of people's stuff involves, front and back end points. You're investing in the movie like everybody else. And guess what? I'm sorry. It's not going to make as much money right now. It is what it is. Hey, a lot of people are getting that.
But this is also key. Jason Kilar said, "We wake up every day thinking, how can we increase the value of HBO Max?" When we thought about the film,
good.
Yeah. When we thought about the film slate as part of HBO Max at no additional cost, we thought it did a lot for the value proposition. Well, of course it did.
Well, yeah.
Of course it did. And AMC Theaters, they are not happy with this. AMC CEO Adam Aron issued a statement chastising Warner Media for the move. Kilar attests that they are not abandoning movie theaters, but he also said the only thing we can count on is change. So, I mean, how this shook down, like this, and this is weird because this posted, at 6:24 PM. It's by Brooke Barnes. Brooks Barnes and Nicole Sperling.
Mm-hmm.
It was New York Times. And it was aptly titled, "Trading Box Office for Streaming, but Stars Still Want Their Money." That was the name of the article.
I mean, I get it. Like, they're also getting a little bit. That was another thing. Tenet called it a bait and switch. I don't think he understands how that term works, but it's also a bit of I get how it's a gut punch to anyone who signed on to one of these movies. Like if you're, Keanu Reeves or anybody, like you signed on, your back end points were kind of a little bit guaranteed to a certain point, and now they've just taken that completely out of the equation and said sorry, and apparently really just didn't consult you very much on that at all. I get the gut punch feel that. I completely understand how that feels that way. I just also think there's going to be over a very short period of time, a little bit of acceptance of maybe, okay, I think this is just how it's going to have to be, and we'll get through it.
So here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. This is how it shook down initially. It says, last month, Warner Brothers quietly approached Hollywood's two biggest talent agencies, William Morris Endeavor and Creative Artists. The studio wanted to release the much-anticipated Wonder Woman 1984 simultaneously in theaters and on the streaming service HBO Max on Christmas Day. And they wanted to get the film's star, Gal Gadot, and director, Patty Jenkins, on board with the plan. WME, which counts Ms. Gadot as a client, and CAA, which represents Ms. Jenkins, had a lot of questions, but the biggest involved money. How are you going to pay them? With Wonder Woman 1984, agents argued that Gal Gadot and Patty Jenkins and the producer Charles Roven, among others, needed to be paid what they most likely would have received had the sequel been released in a traditional manner, an exclusive run in theaters before arriving online, and not during the height of a pandemic. After all, that was what they signed up for, and Warner Brothers and HBO Max, its corporate sibling, wanted their help in promoting the film, so they're kind of in a bind, right?
Mm-hmm.
And after what was apparently a tense negotiation, Warner Brothers, which is owned by AT&T, agreed that Gal and Patty would each get more than $10 million, according to two people with knowledge of the deals, who spoke on the condition of anonymity to discuss private agreements. So Warner Brothers kept crucial talent and their powerful representatives on its side. But last week, when Kylar announced that 17 more movies would roll out on HBO Max in 2021, they didn't consult anybody. They didn't negotiate with anybody. And my guess is Gal Gadot and Patty Jenkins screwed the pooch for the rest of everyone else, because when they said, "Oh, y'all gonna hardball us, we can't afford this on all these people. But this is the way it's got to go."
Like I'm open to more information coming in, but that sounds right.
Mm-hmm.
Just based on what I'm seeing right now, that sounds pretty accurate. Also, this is very much a better ask forgiveness than permission kind of thing, I think, if you're the studio.
Yeah.
Like, all right, the 17 movies. How many stars? Probably at least 50 plus.
God, who knows?
Stars involved in this, or we'll call it 50 plus, like leads, maybe. Some of which are big ones, really big ones. Is this a conversation you thought you could have 50 something times? And then, by the way, the first time that Suicide Squad or John Wick or Matrix, whatever, or even fucking Tom and Jerry, for all it matters, decides that they aren't going to be hardballed and just like will not agree to anything.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then what about the rest of these guys who actually did make some compromise? Like, do you want to seriously sit there and try to negotiate with that many people if you're the studio, or do you just want to be like, we're doing this? We do actually own this film, after all. We're going to put this out. This is how it's going to be, and we'll just have to deal with the repercussions later.
Right.
I'm not trying to like justify the fucking multi-million-dollar, billion-dollar industry giant here. Yeah. Morally, I'm just saying I get them. I understand how they came to that decision.
Well, there's some trickery here for sure. Now, to prevent the news of the 17 movie shift from leaking and to make the move speedily rather than get mired in the expected blowback, Warner Media kept the major agencies and talent management companies in the dark until roughly 90 minutes before issuing the news release.
Yeah, I saw that.
And so it left the agencies on a war footing, the article says. Representatives for major Warner Brothers stars like Denzel Washington, Margot Robbie, Will Smith, Keanu Reeves, Hugh Jackman, and Angelina Jolie wanted to know why their clients had been treated in a lesser manner than Gal Gadot. Talk of a Warner Brothers boycott began circulating inside the Directors Guild of America. A partner at one talent agency spent part of the weekend meeting with litigators. Some people started to angrily refer to the studio as former brothers.
Yeah, which was funny.
Yeah, that was good. That's pretty good.
I mean, I have a pretty simple answer for this. Because hers has been sitting on the shelf longer.
Mm-hmm.
It's money, like that money that wasn't made, which is, by the way, probably $1 billion. Let's face it. Because the movie looks fantastic and would have clearly made $1 billion under ideal circumstances. Not even ideal, under regular circumstances. No, dude, like that's a lot of money that's just already in the pot, and they've got to do something for it.
Yeah. Now, you know, a lot of these people are saying, you know, like, oh, for the longest time, they've been known for the best home for talent, and that has been a significant competitive advantage. And with this move, they alienated the very talent they have worked so hard to attract. Look, and I think Warner Brothers is right on this, and they're going about it the right way, because I think they went to Gal Gadot and Patty Jenkins because that was the movie that we've been waiting to see for the longest. It had been sitting on the shelf, but they used it as a testing ground. And when they saw how that played out, they said, we cannot afford to make this viable and have this negotiation with every one of these people. So what we do is we're going to have to push ahead and just not give them the heads up. And if we lose them, we lose them. Because, you know what? There's always a slew of other people who would be ready to slit some throats to get right where these assholes are. And Keelar, when he announced it, said, this is for the fans, or whatever. This one's for the fans. So they're positioning themselves to be like, look, we just want to, you know, make sure you guys get to see these movies. And who are the bad guys? The overpaid asshole actors who not only want their paycheck, but they want their secondary paycheck for the back end.
That doesn't exist right now.
That no longer exists at this point.
And, you know, I haven't had a lot of time to consider this. Like you said, we're recording 2 hours after this got out. But right now, that does feel like a pretty good interpretation. And, you know, one of the alternatives for Warner Brothers is you got to think, okay, well, look, or even if you're AT&T. Even if you're AT&T, you're still looking at Warner Brothers and thinking, well, I know you're just one of the arms here. But, you know, the other part of AT&T, by the way, is a phone company, and those things can come and go over the course of 5 years. So Warner Brothers is one of their blue chips. That's one of the things they bought because they knew it would be steady, and it's not. It's just not right now. Yeah. So they have the choice. They can piss everybody off, hope we all band together afterward and realize, you know what, times were fucked up. I realize you made some decisions that made me mad. I guess we'll all just have to find a way to move on together and kind of hope that that's how that goes down. Yeah. Which is very possibly what a lot of them are really hoping happens is like you said, we cannot sit here and have this conversation with everybody. And we literally maybe can't afford to have that conversation with everybody involved. Yeah. Or think about it. If you're Warner Brothers and you already have HBO Max that by their reports is doing well. What are you thinking to yourself? What's the worst case scenario? We get out of movie theaters that are already kind of monopolizing how, like, movie theaters. One of the problems the movie theaters had was they were monopolizing what got in, and the whole section of critics, by the way. And I can't believe that more people aren't concerned. Actually, I did see a lot of people that were happy about this because of that. But the fact that Warner Brothers, and especially if you're a DC fan, the critics have been just pieces of shit to us for years. They've been terrible. The Rotten Tomatoes thing is like, I'll post the spreadsheet again tomorrow if you want me to. It's been terrible. So to have that out of the hands of the critics and the media fanfare before, and to not have to deal with that part of it, and to actually have it in the hands of the fans for once, who, by the way, largely liked a lot of these movies, is a very different thing. So they've got to be thinking to some extent, what's the worst case scenario? We turn into Netflix, which is doing fine. I mean, Netflix has never been out of debt, but that's Netflix's model, and whatever. They've never technically been out of debt, but they've always had a pretty high top gross line, which means that they're fine. Like they're not hitting one of those little like stock price versus debt ratio bubbles that will destroy them. They're not there, and they're not even pointing toward it. No. I just did want to mention for that, like, probably one person in our audience who's like, Netflix has never been out of debt. I'm like, okay, yes, we know that. Yeah, in a lot of ways, Amazon's still in debt, and they're fucking Amazon. Like, that's it. There's a way you do the books a certain way that, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, yes, but no. You know what I mean? Yep. So, yeah, like, worst case scenario for them, they turn into Netflix. And they already have one of the largest cannons in the entertainment industry. What are they afraid of? Like, they've got some deals. Eventually, those deals expire. They get access to everything they have again in perpetuity at that point, unless there's some other, like, Spider-Man-ish deal with Sony kind of thing. Yeah. And granted, there are plenty of them. I mean, there's a reason Harry Potter vanished after a minute. Hell, Batman vs. Superman's going to go away after a second. And end of December? Yeah, something like that, yeah. There's a lot to be said for, like, the streaming agreements that are already made, but if your plan is to be Warner Brothers and become something like a Netflix, like, you're just going to start rewriting those contracts completely. You're not going to deal with the old model or the old sending it off here and there. You're going to be like, no. When that's up, it's done. And I'll pay you X amount for it to be done right now. And put it back in your canon, your catalog. And make your service even stronger. Like, again, I'm really not trying to fucking like sympathize with the giant industry thing here, especially one who's fucked us over a lot.
Well, let's be fair though. We're talking about a rich entity that's screwing over a bunch of other rich entities.
I mean, there's that. Yeah.
They're all, you know.
I mean, a lot of them. There's plenty of actors on there that, you know, were promised, hey, you know, this is going to be a big break. You're going to get it on the back end. There's going to be plenty of stories like that.
But there's no way for these. I mean, I've already seen some people like siding with the actors and stuff and the directors, and that's fine, I guess. I personally feel like because of the pandemic, because of, let's face it, and this freaking article pulls it to the forefront too, and it says, you know, even before the pandemic, streaming services like Netflix, Apple TV, and Amazon Prime Video were upending how movies get seen and their creators are compensated. And it really did. It pushed that so much quicker along.
Yeah.
And let's not fool ourselves. Jason Kilar, before pandemic hit, he was already trying to figure out how to make HBO Max what he's now creating with it. So,
this was an opportunity. That's all for somebody like him. This was just like, this is never going to happen again. I have to take my shot.
But Kilar makes a salient point. He says, our content is extremely valuable unless it is sitting on a shelf, not being seen by anyone. We believe this approach serves our fans, supports exhibitors and filmmakers, and enhances the HBO Max experience, creating value for all. And I agree with him. But, you know, that test run with Gal Gadot and Patty Jenkins killed it. There's no more negotiation. Now it is, hey, this is the way it is. If you don't like it, call the Wambulance. Because we own this shit.
Actually, I hadn't thought about it. But part of the anger has got to be the fact that, like, Warner Brothers, especially with Wonder Woman, had held in there for so long. And this is part of why, by the way, I think it might have fucked them a little bit to have done what they done. But because, like, all right, so what, it was a movie supposed to be released in November last year?
Oh God, this has changed so. It changed more times than New Mutants release date. I don't know.
Possibly.
I can't keep track of it. No, it did.
It literally did.
It did. Yes, I saw those headlines. Ray and Brent had a whole conversation about it. Like, it did.
Oh, God. That doesn't surprise me. Like, I think it was supposed to be originally like Q4 of last year and then moved because I think they thought.
It was like November, then it was June.
It was going to be like, I think it was even going to be like March originally, just the second day. But anyway, originally there was like a move to not compete and there was going to be some creative stuff that they were going to work on. And it didn't seem absurd at the time. And then, you know, fucking 2020 happened and March became June and June became like August became October became, and then, here we are. Best I can remember. But,
roughly what happened. Yeah.
It's like give or take 2 months, I guess. Am I leapfrogging maybe? But anyway.
Yeah. I like I said, I lost track of it and I can't confirm or deny.
It was a lot, but that means also that Warner Brothers kind of came to the table saying, dude, we've stuck with you the whole time. We've stuck with you the whole time as far as like, we wanted to get this in theaters. We wanted to make it work. We wanted to do it the way you wanted to do it. We're at a turning point. We have to do this another way. And that's not a conversation they're necessarily going to have with the producers of John Wick 4 because they haven't made those promises.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing was on the table, if we're being honest. Like,
well, we don't know.
Well, actually, I don't remember if there was a release date, but I know I'm pretty sure they've done some filming. But to my point, the only thing that I'm sure that hasn't happened is there was literally a film sitting on the table and they were discussing when it was going to be released. Like, that's not a thing that's going to be common among those 17 films.
Mm-hmm.
So for them to be a little extra angry because, like, the studio was with them for so long and then just decided we're going to do it this way, I could kind of see that.
Sure.
I still think it's an unrealistic expectation about how just reality is right now, but I could kind of see it.
Yeah. These people live in mansions. I don't think they have a good grip on reality anyway. But
that's not true. Like,
ow,
it's not necessarily true. It's hard to. I'd have to meet anyone to say.
What do you mean I don't get my $10 million back pay?
Like, for instance, deal. Keanu Reeves is one of the names where I read that and I was like, oh man, I'm sad he's not getting his money because he would have probably taken 50% off the top and given it to charity. Like,
yeah, that's nice.
That's just how he rolls. And a lot of them do similar things. Like, there's a certain amount of money that won't get into some hands that it should have gotten into.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
That's going to be a real thing.
I'm not firmly in anyone's camp. I'm just saying this shit had to come out at some point, and also the way they set it up, PR wise, they did a really good job of making anyone that has a problem with this look like an asshole.
Oh, very much so. Yeah. And I again, like, just thinking about how I would manipulate the situation if it was me, I very much would not have had this conversation 50 plus times. I would literally just do it and then have the conversation on the back end.
Yeah.
That's something this big. That's how I would try it if I were them.
Yeah.
Also, and what do you want to? Do you want to try to flood every single weekend of 2022? Like, people are going to just camp out and get season-long passes to the theaters, which I'm sure AMC's daydreaming about, but it's not realistic. Once we get back to when we get to normal, we're going to spend a hell of a lot more time with, like, people that we haven't seen than going to a fucking theater. It'll be involved, but it's not going to be the primary thing. And to make money on every single one of those films, plus everything, by the way, that Disney's putting out, because that's not even involved. No, just absolutely unrealistic.
And this does a hell of a lot to make sure that HBO Max gets on Roku soon. Yeah. I'm expecting a
like within the week.
Yeah, like any day. Like, I'm surprised it hasn't happened yet.
Oh yeah.
So
they may wait 2 weeks to save face and hope the articles die down.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, the Brian Lord, a co-chairman of Creative Artists, said precedent is being set over the value of talent and what kind of transparency is essential to creating equitable partnerships. We will do everything necessary to make sure artists are fairly compensated for the value they are creating and that their creative and artistic work and rights are protected. I don't personally, and I will just say this, I don't feel like they've necessarily been fairly compensated in the first place, because there's a lot to be said. Like, when you look at someone like Margot Robbie, all right, she's in Suicide Squad. She's playing Harley Quinn. Everybody knows who Harley Quinn is. And they get a certain amount of money. Then she goes and does some independent movie. That movie doesn't make $1 billion. That movie doesn't make anywhere close to $1 billion. So it's not necessarily those artists coming in. Like, so these, like, exorbitant back end deals, I do think are ridiculous. Unless you're Jack Nicholson.
Which at this point may not even be the best example you could have picked.
Oh, I mean, he's just always the first person that comes to mind, because he's like, I'll take a big pay cut for Batman. But here are my back end deals. And then they're like, oh, okay, cool. And then he just winds up mopping up. Yeah. Just, oh my Lord.
Yeah. the Lucas like, maneuver, as I remember it now.
And now it's like, it's just all these, like, well, there are all these multipliers. If you do this and this, we'll get this amount. Okay, well, cool. You'd never have to make another movie in your life, but you keep doing the movies, and that's fine. But, there are lots of people out there who can act. There are lots of people out there who can do all this stuff. I don't think Warner Brothers is really too worried about it. There are lots of, the paradigm will shift, is what I'm saying. Yeah. If it hasn't already, because of this. And,
no, I mean, as a business model, they're thinking like, man, we could start buying fan films that are produced half as well as the final films and put them up. Yeah. Look, this is one of the dangers of Hollywood in general, and it has been for 100 years, man. You can't think you're too special because one day you turn around and you don't matter anymore. It has always been a thing. Like, it's a thing that people, feared. It's old Hollywood had this problem. Like, it's never gone away either. Like, you're treated as dispensable. And by the way, there are some truly despicable side effects of that. Like, the Harvey Weinstein, it comes to mind. But I mean, that's just a slightly extreme example. And also, that's one person who was doing a thing that a lot of fucking pieces of shit were doing. In that environment, you're kind of enabled to treat people with such indiscretion that it's borderline a problem. And, well, I say borderline. Borderline is
oftentimes a big problem.
Oftentimes a huge problem, and borderline a problem all the time is what I mean to say. So, yeah, like, to say that the people upset about this that are, the A-listers anyway, that they don't have a point is also a bit tone deaf. They do have a point. It's just,
yeah, they have a point,
not the most relevant point. And to try to, I don't know, man, I also kind of have to frame it historically and be like, yeah, but I'm sorry, this is a little bit of how these things work. Like, the industry is going to move, and if you're not moving with it, you won't go with them when it moves.
Right. And more than money, these people care about being relevant.
A lot of them, yeah.
I mean, not every one of them, obviously. That's a generalized statement. Shouldn't have to keep qualifying everything, but yes.
Well, and partially because relevance is part of how you bring in the money you get.
Right, exactly.
Everything's a little bit monetizable in that environment.
I mean, most of these people right now, even if they had already spent every bit of money they'd ever made, just based on their face, they could go onto Instagram and take sponsorships and be good for the rest of their lives and make good money.
Yeah. Hop on OnlyFans or something.
I wasn't going to go to OnlyFans, but sure.
I only vaguely know what that site's for, but I feel it's dubious.
I don't know about dubious.
I don't have any outright trust for it.
I mean, it's pretty widely trusted. It's just
okay, cool. Well, I don't mean the site itself. I mean like the mechanism.
Oh, well, I mean, no, I watched a whole video on like how people the psychological breakdown of what they're doing on OnlyFans, where like this guy broke down like how like one girl on Instagram, all of her pictures, like she's hot, obviously, but like all of her pictures are like her like looking off some way, like away from the camera, and just like very like non-personal captions and stuff. But if you join her OnlyFans, like all of her pictures are like she's looking right at the camera, right at you. She like sends you messages. She talks to you. So it's like they're not really buying like nudes of this girl.
Third and first person.
Yeah,
and they are just monetizing the version, the difference. Okay,
right. It's like you're some sad lonely guy.
But if you're one of the OnlyFans
on this girl's Instagram, and you're just like you're looking at her, you're like, oh man, she's giving me the cold shoulder. And you go over to OnlyFans, and she's already sent you a message going like, how are you today, handsome? And you're like, oh, she does care. No, she doesn't. She likes money. You're giving her money. You dumb bastard.
I mean, I've waited a ton of tables, and I promise you, it is no different. I will be absolutely interested in your day for about 40 minutes, and then you need to get the fuck off my table because I got to make some money tonight.
Right. Anyway, so let's see. Under this Warner Media plan, though, HBO Max will pay Warner Brothers a licensing fee for the 31-day concurrent rights. The fee will be equal to the studio's portion of ticket sales in the United States. Ticket sales are generally split 50-50 between studios and theaters. Other factors could influence the fee, including the percentage of theaters that are operating. HBO Max and Warner Brothers also agreed to a floor for these fees, $10 million for 25% of the film's net production cost, whichever is greater. Now, in the eyes of some agents, this is unfair self-dealing. They believe that Warner Media had an obligation to maximize value for the profit participants, to make a good faith effort to see what prices other companies might have paid for the Warner Brothers movies before selling them to itself.
Oh God, come on, man.
The licensing fee does not appear to be connected to the value each movie will create for HBO Max in the form of subscriptions or engagements. It does say that
like they're not wrong in theory, but it's also impractical and unapproachable as a concept.
Yeah.
Like there's no way they could have taken every single one of these 17 movies and shopped them differently, kept the entire thing relatively under wraps, kept everyone attached to the movie relatively okay, but it's an insurmountable thing.
Yeah. Now, Legendary was apparently already upset with Warner Brothers because in recent months Netflix had offered like $250 million to buy Godzilla vs. Kong.
Uh-huh.
Legendary wanted them to do it, and Warner Brothers said no.
Okay, that I get. That's bullshit.
Well, they wanted it on HBO Max.
Okay, that part I completely get. Like, that's self-dealing for sure.
Oh, yeah. No, it is.
Like I said, I know I've come across as very pro Warner Bros. On this whole thing, but I'm not trying
Me too.
I'm not trying to side with them. I'm just saying what does and doesn't make sense to me. But and when did you say that was?
It just said earlier this year, I guess.
Oh, well, shit. Earlier this year, though, when you say earlier this year in December of 2020...
the article said in recent months.
Oh, in recent months. Okay. So even in recent months, in terms of how fast things have changed in 2020, that might as well be 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's just... I've joked with people that I talk to about this thing. Like, even with, COVID updates, dude, you can take a lunch break, come back, and be completely out of the fucking loop. Like something has substantially changed that was a real breakthrough happened in a lab in Norway. And shit, the whole thing's fucking different.
And it's a good thing that I'm not in charge of any of this, because I have such a hard time seeing past my own interests. Like, not my own like personal interest, but like what I am interested in. Because there's no way I would pay anyone $250 million for Godzilla versus Kong. And there's no way I would turn down $250 million for Godzilla versus Kong. Like, I'd be like, who the shit wants to watch Godzilla versus Kong? But there are so many people who do. I just can't imagine it. I can't fathom it. I can't wrap my brain around the concept of wanting to watch Godzilla versus Kong.
It's like a vacuum concept for you. Like, for you, this is like you were in a $100,000 house and someone offered you $500,000 and you're like, I don't understand or care. How fast do I need to be out? Do I need to take my belongings or just burn the house down? I don't care. Right. Which one? I could be out within the hour. Within, 30, I'll just leave now.
Yeah.
Here's the key.
I would always be like, if I were ever an executive, like I would probably be that consecutive executive, who turned down or sold for way less money than it was worth that thing that he didn't understand. Like, I would just be that guy.
Oh yeah, there's always
over
that
and
guy.
over again.
It's a thing. Like, you can find it on any number of podcasts of people who just didn't understand what they had, that kind of thing.
Yeah. I always like the guy who's like, you know what? I'm fine. I spent it for, I sold it for this. Sure. I made $1 billion. I sold it for 3 million, but I wasn't going to do anything with it. I didn't even understand it. I always admire that guy, because that's exactly what I would say. I'm like, I didn't know what the hell to do with that.
No, I get it.
I'm glad they made their money off of it. They did a good job. It's business.
I completely get it. Like, I at the house I just sold, like, we have commercial contracts that would move through every once in a while and offer just way more money than the house was worth in that area, because they didn't really give a shit. They were just going to mow it down and put up a Costco or whatever.
Right.
And, occasionally you'd get a hold of one of those contracts and make a little bit of earnest money, but which I made like $2,100 just saying yes to something, and there were no consequences. Someone just handed me money for having said that I would agree.
Mm-hmm.
Great. But, later when I sell the house, that, for what an actual resident would pay for the house, not a company, it's not going to be I sold that house 2 months ago. Mm-hmm. And in 2 months, if I learn that the house is now sold for twice what I paid for it, I'd be like, okay, great. Good for you, man.
Yeah.
I mean, shit, I was happy with what I walked away with, but fuck, good job.
Right.
You won. Good game, old chap.
No. Old chap.
I mean, what? When you move into Mountain Brook, let me, hey, let's have a grill out sometime. Buy me a steak.
Whenever I hear anyone say old chap, I just think of that. Remember The Simpsons where Homer finds that overturned sugar truck?
Let's see. No, I don't. Okay.
Homer finds an overturned sugar truck, and he transports as much of the sugar as he can to his backyard, and then he guards it because he thinks they're poachers.
I've heard about people doing this on Minecraft and making actual money.
And
no, it's Animal Crossing. Sorry, Animal Crossing.
And then we have Marge. We have Marge who's like, no one's trying to get your sugar, and he's like, oh yeah, and he puts his hand down and pulls out this little Englishman. The little Englishman has got his tea, and he just goes, "That's right, I nicked it, and I'd do it again."
Oh, that's just beautiful right there.
Anyway, Pud333 over on Twitter says, with the rumors today from Deadline that Legendary is suing Warner Media over their co-financed films like Dune going to HBO Max, and with some other directors like Gunn staying quiet about the move, how unilateral does this move by Warner Media, for the entire 2021 slate feel to you, and what effect do you think it will have with their creative talent? Very unilateral.
Approximately 0.7% unilateral.
You think 7% unilateral? It feels
0.7.
Oh, 0.7% unilateral.
Yeah. As in someone maybe made a wrong phone call for a second and hung up the phone immediately. Like there was a secretary that was like, hey, I'd like to talk to so-and-so about releasing the streams on it. Who's this? Oh, I'm sorry. And hung up the phone. That's the amount that they were apparently told about it.
Well, yeah. And I mean, I think they're right though. I think they're right on it. I don't think they would have lost way too much money, negotiating with all those people. It's just, there's no way. There's too much time, too much money.
And then there's just the loss of it's all theoretical loss that's my big concern. It's all theoretical loss. They didn't actually have any money to have lost right now. These are just products sitting there that won't actually capitalize in any way. Mm-hmm. You have to actually put them somewhere for them to actually make any money, or no one cares.
And look, man, what as to the effect I think it'll have for the creative talent, time and money heals all wounds. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like when these agents. By the way, that's why most of these stars aren't actually coming out. It's just their agents and shit, because like Legendary can sue Warner Media all they want, and that's fine. Maybe they end their partnership with them. Maybe they don't. But
I don't blame them now that you're saying it that way. Let your representatives go after them and make them. You know what? Make sure there's a good backlash, because you don't want something like this to happen again if you're them.
Right.
So I get that.
You don't want it to happen, and I don't blame them for being concerned about it or even angry, but
absolutely not. And even to push back, if it was my agent and this happened, I'd be like, look, I know this is not gonna. I'm imagining myself saying, I know this is not going to change anything, but you blow that motherfucker's phone up.
Yeah.
I want you to know that next time something like this happens, I want a phone call.
Give it a year or two, and the caviar dinners are drying up, and you go, oh, well, I haven't gotten a call recently. Is anyone releasing theatrical? Oh, no, there are no theaters. Okay. Well, HBO Max and Netflix are looking pretty good. Yeah, well, you want to try that?
Yeah.
and we'll be right back. And, at the end of the day, Warner Media, if they're still compensating them pretty well, and if they're still doing the creative thing and letting them do whatever the hell they want, and by the way, that's going to be way more easy now with streaming, as opposed to, well, we have to make sure that a certain amount of people come in to see it in theaters and MPAA and blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Dude, man, they're not going to go away. A few will, and they'll be lost to time, and we'll see an article that says, remember them, and it'll have a picture of whoever, and then, a picture of them in the current day. And
what do they call it? The chum box at the bottom of website, where you scroll down, and it's not even AdSense. It's like Trulio or whatever the fuck it is down there.
Right. And it'll be, not necessarily her, but probably Margot Robbie with raggedy old halter top that says jam, and walking out of a Costco.
I mean, even if it is
I stole that from Fresh Prince.
A-listers right now that's like, what happened to them now? And you're like, well, this scandal with the streaming services came out. No one wanted to work with them again. Okay, dude. Look, a lot of things happen in a lot of lives. And hey, by the way, 7 year ago, whatever, pre any of this, before theaters were even considered a thing that might conceivably be a problem, you still saw those damn chum bucket articles, so-and-so can't work anymore. Katherine Heigl comes to mind, but
oh god, well, there was a reason for her,
apparently. But that's the one I kept seeing at the bottom.
She bit every hand that fed her.
I haven't looked into it at all, but it's one I kept seeing. But yeah, here's another thing. All right, so me and my personal life, I've transferred from one job to another during the course of this year. Mm-hmm. For reasons that are honestly entirely related to COVID, and
directly,
I was actually pretty happy with the job before. Ended in a way that I wasn't completely happy with, due to circumstances, and then was unemployed for quite some time, way more than me or my serotonin levels were comfortable with, and then found another job, and I'm pretty happy there. But I'm still having to deal with some of the side effects of, well, this is how we need to approach things at work, and it's just how it is. It's how it is. But one of the conversations I've had with several people along the way was, well, if we're this worried about it, or if we're doing this and we're doing that, blah, 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 then what happens if it's the next time? And I keep having to explain to people, dude, I don't know if there's going to be a next time. In our lifetimes, I don't know if we're going to do exactly this again. This is going to be protracted, for sure. We're going to be doing this for a while. But there will eventually, we'll beat it. We'll win. We'll find a way. We kind of always do. That's why we're still here. So
life finds a way.
I just wanted to let you finish saying that. I know you enjoy it. And I can hear you enjoyed yourself now.
I have a partial.
But But I've explained to, on honestly, both of these occasions, my bosses on either end of the spectrum for me in 2020 and said, hey, look, so I know you're having to make some fucked up decisions right now, but I need you to also realize it's a one-time thing. Like, this is a thing that once we figure out how we're going to get on the other side of, just historically and statistically, probably not going to deal with this for a while. Like, you're not going to be having this conversation with somebody in 5 years. Granted, entirely possible, but not likely.
Right.
This is a once-in-a-lifetime thing. So, you can also have that conversation with fucking everybody on board with all of these films this year. Hey, look, man, I know this is a fucked up thing. We're going to find the other side of it. We're all going to be there together. This is a fucked up thing. This is how we feel we need to go about it. I hope I find you on the other side. If I don't, I wish you the best. If I do, I'll see you there. We're going to find out how to do that together too.
Jason's called it. So, in 3 years when we're at Euphomet COVID 23 and,
I've doomed us all.
We're trying to figure out how to fight an alien pandemic.
And just for fun, the waveform on my computer, I just looked down at my phone and it's getting the mirror effect, and it's like it kind of looks like literally Matrix code, and that kind of frightened me for just a second when you were talking. Like, for just a second, I looked up and saw Matrix code. I was like, oh, that's not right. Oh, no, sorry. Just put my phone down in a weird place. My bad.
All right. But yeah, no, I don't know. I don't think they'll be overly affected creatively. I think there will be some mistrust there, but at the end of the day, it's going to be like, look, man, we had to do it. Streaming is the future. It just is. I'm sorry, everyone. Old Hollywood's going to have to get on board.
Look, old Hollywood has had a lot of things they have to change for approximately 100 years. This is just the next thing.
You can only buy one Bugatti per film now.
I'm like, I don't want to completely get on board with the fuck the rich sentiment, but I get it.
I mean,
I a little bit get it. I mean, yeah, for sure. Like,
you know what? I don't either. But on the other hand,
it's been a tough fucking year, and a lot of us are thinking, I'm sorry, I don't care about your troubles.
Well, it's not necessarily that. It's just, what would made a pandemic a lot easier to go through and quarantine a lot easier to go through? Having a house so big that you don't have to, you could go an entire month without seeing the same room in your house.
I would have loved that too, but that's where the ghost is. And he's not kind.
Yeah, I mean,
one of those hit you in the balls ghosts.
There's a middle ground. There's a middle ground where you could just be like, you know what? At some point, you guys are just whining about too much. I can.
I get.
I can sympathize, but also not.
Yeah, I get it. I get it, so. And it's also like our best shot at being people who are extremely middle class, who are trying to make the best of our best guess at guessing at their situation. And yeah, there's, I don't know, we can find points of sympathy, and there's other points where just, I don't know, there's not going to be a connection like that.
Yeah. Anyway, let's see. Wonder Woman 1984 is going to be the first film released on HBO Max in 4K Ultra HD, HDR10, Dolby Vision, and Dolby Atmos. So there's that.
I feel like that would have been the big news short of that whole...
It was, actually. The HBO Max free trial is ending right before, 3 weeks before Wonder Woman 84 premieres.
Don't blame them a bit on that.
No,
one.
That's what Disney Plus did.
Yeah.
So that makes sense. Actually,
one of the only curiosities is... and by the way, Mulan is available to stream for free right now. And how long ago was that? 2 months, maybe?
Yeah, I don't know.
Just a guess? 2
months? I have no idea. I literally have no clue.
I know it happened after Hamilton, so we have that.
Yep, that's what I know.
But that's about it. And honestly, most of Disney Plus is just Bluey and Mandalorian for me right now. So it was definitely before Mandalorian.
If it's not Ming Na, it's hashtag not my Mulan. So.
Oh.
I haven't really paid attention.
One of the interesting points was that they weren't going to try to charge extra for watching the film itself.
Mm-hmm.
Even for like, hey, you've got rewatch for a month or something like that. I think there's going to be a lot of people discussing after all this, whether Milan should have done the charges up front, whether they should have dropped them later, whether HBO could, actually go through with the whole charging people for the films, even though they're already getting the streaming service thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like some nominal fee for, hey, you are just watching this extra content at home that you weren't promised.
Yeah, but all this crap's going to go to. I say crap. All these films are going to be, free for subscribers for a month, and then it'll go to the appropriate VOD channels where you'll have to pay for them, and that's fair.
Oh yeah. No, I mean, the funny part to me is I'm probably just going to end up buying Wonder Woman 84 on Amazon because I can get it in a format that I know will be there, until that company folds.
Right. Which doesn't look like it's going to be anytime soon.
It's not anytime soon. But I don't know when HBO Max will just decide that I can't stream that movie anymore. And, on a whim one night, I might decide I'm going to try to see if my, 2 and 1 month old daughter can handle Wonder Woman now. Let's throw it on there.
Uh-huh.
Oh, they're shooting each other. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So Warner Media, a Warner Media representative said, "We frequently update and iterate our offers to provide flexible ways for potential subscribers to access all that HBO Max has to offer." And they do have a new offer, a 22% discount to new subscribers who prepay for 6 months for $69.99, which comes out to be about $11.66 per month, as opposed to the $14.99 a month.
Yeah, that's pretty standard.
So there you go. All right. So I don't want to talk about business anymore. You want to talk about actual movie stuff?
Let's do it.
Actual fun stuff?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Wonder Woman 1984 has... I'm going to edit out the pause. Stop laughing at me.
Even with, I just love that it's like, do you want to stop talking business? Also, Wonder Woman 84.
Yeah, dude. Wonder Woman 1984, they put it out, right? They gave it to some people, to some critics and stuff.
Uh-huh.
And I have not seen one negative word said about this movie.
I haven't either. It's been really pretty positive experience.
We'll talk about some of the good reactions we've got here. But, Patty Jenkins was talking to Brandon Davis of comicbook.com. And he had said that, not only does the movie look like it is set in an 80s era with the costume and the set designs, but the editing and the cinematography truly conveys the look of a movie from the era in which the movie is set. And Patty Jenkins said, that is exactly what I strive to do. I kept saying to everybody, because it's funny, I was worried we weren't giving people enough 80s because the temptation is to go 80s, haha, and make all these 80s jokes and put in 80s tracks. I was like, I shouldn't have 80s tracks. Because when you do that, you're automatically being self-referential.
Right.
Whereas I said, you should not remember anything about this movie. This should be as if you're going to a massive tent pole in the 80s. That's completely authentic. So throw away the 80s part of it. It ends up being very 80s as a result of it, but just throw that away and make a great movie. And that excited me because I was actually pretty worried that it was going to be like Wonder Woman, the Goldbergs.
Well, I mean, what you've been exposed to is, you've seen the fanny pack.
Yes.
And I think I had to explain to you the Blue Monday thing.
Mm-hmm.
But, there have been some different references. But I do appreciate that. And I kind of wonder if, like, on a subconscious level, watching the movie, because stuff like editing and composition and stuff like that is a bit of a subconscious thing unless you're really paying attention.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of wonder if I'm just going to like this movie way more than I have any right to because of when I was born.
Yeah, maybe.
I mean,
maybe.
Like, seriously, Ghostbusters was my favorite movie for the majority of my, first 10 years.
Yeah, and I was just thinking, like, if it feels like authentically like Back to the Future felt for me, where it was just like, yeah, we're making note of what time frame we're set in, but also here, I don't know. Like I'm excited. I've actually gotten between that and the footage that they released at CCXP and the footage that they released at the MTV Movie Awards. I'm actually excited now. Yeah. And not to mention all these good reactions. Freaking Eric Eisenberg of Cinema Blend said, huge news. Wonder Woman 84 is fantastic. The story is excellent and has a great timely message. It packs in a ton of surprises and amazing work is done with both Cheetah and Maxwell Lord. Both actors are stellar. Get hyped because it is the real deal. Freaking, Nuke the Fridge said, I saw Wonder Woman 84 and cried. It's spectacular, empowering to both men and women. Wow. DC World says yesterday
I saw coming from someone called Nuke the Fridge because I know exactly what they're talking about.
Oh yeah. DC World says yesterday I saw the new Wonder Woman 84 movie on the big screen thanks to Warner Brothers UK, and here's my reaction: a DC movie masterpiece and a stunning but powerful film. More to come soon. Fandango's Eric Davis says, I'm so happy to report that 84 is an absolute blast from start to finish. An exceptional compliment to the first film. Is stuffed with heart, hope, love, action, romance, and humor. I was in tears when it ended. I mean, it's just on and on like this, man.
Yeah.
On and on. And I'm super, super excited for that.
Actually,
because I was, worried about a number of things. I was, worried that Kristen Wiig would be like, the Riddler or, Aldrich Killian or freaking Electro from Amazing Spider-Man 2, where it's like, oh, nerdy guy turns into the villain and takes revenge on his hero. That's what I thought it was going to be. It might still be, but they might have, fixed it.
I think she can do more. I mean, if
I'm not saying that she can't do more. I'm just worried they were going to make it that.
Yeah, that's a valid concern.
I've seen Kristen Wiig do more than that. She's great.
I mean, even in Paul, she gave me enough. I don't know. There was enough background for her in Paul. Even I was like, Jesus, I can buy this.
There are SNL bits where I'm just like, good Lord, the range.
Yeah, no, that is one very capable performer, man. I think she's gonna. I don't know. I'm gonna be very excited. I think about her role later. In approximately 2.5 weeks.
So yeah, I've gotten my mojo back for this movie.
Good,
and I'm excited for it. Once again, did you see any of the footage that they put out?
Just a bit.
Just a bit.
Just a very small bit.
I mean, I watched Wonder Woman mid-run, mid-sprint, turn backwards and grab a bullet right before it hit Steve Trevor in the head with her lasso. I'm very pleased.
That is pretty glorious.
And it's fun. It's funny. Like, she jumps onto the cab of this army truck and just rips off the steering wheel and tells the guy, brakes still work, before leaping away.
By the way, if you don't want to careen into a building or the, next car, hit that thing with your foot. That'll do it.
Yeah, it looks like a lot of fun. It really does. All right. So, I guess let's move on to a little bit of Justice League stuff. Joe Manganiello a couple weeks ago posted a picture of himself with the Mohawk. That was pretty awesome.
Stuff. Yeah.
That was pretty awesome. Yeah. And he says, heroes and villains can put their differences aside for an important cause. And he links to the AFSP donor drive. So, keep that in mind, y'all.
Yeah.
Try to just post a link to AFSP in our show notes.
I think that particular drive is over, but it's
maybe
still just it's AFSP. Still worth a couple bucks if you got them.
Now, Warner Media CEO Jason Kilar, who we've talked about a fair amount in this episode already. He was in a new blog post. He was talking about the plan to put all these movies out for HBO Max, and then he also said, on the subject of HBO Max, there are so many amazing HBO original series and Max originals I'm excited about. The Tiger Woods HBO documentary arriving in January is incredible, and this little thing called Zack Snyder's Justice League coming in, quote, a few months.
Yeah.
And then, like a day later, Zack Snyder posts a picture of himself or a picture of the editing bay with a giant screen. And it says, picture start on the screen, and he captions it, let it begin. So reshoots are done. Looks like it's time for the editing, the final edit.
Yeah.
Hell yes.
And they, what'd they say? It was like time locked, or what's that phrase?
Yeah, I think that's it. They're just working on VFX and stuff now and getting the last bits in.
The lock is cut. Anyway, they have the movie. They're just trying to make it what it needs to be.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, a few months is, it's enticing. I'm at least willing to bet we see it in the first half of the year.
Oh, yeah, I think so. Y'all, the thirst is real. I need it.
Oh, yeah.
I need it.
Yeah.
Now, here's something interesting. This was, I'm going to read this thing. It was translated into English from a CCXP panel, but this article says, fans of Zack Snyder's films at the DCEU may have one more reason to celebrate. During the panel, American Vampire and Artist Valley of CCXP Worlds, Scott Snyder said he was called by the DC. I actually kind of like that. They should just call it the DC from now on. To assist in the comic adaptation and expansion of the mythology of Snyder Cut of Justice League he is doing on HBO Max. Mm-hmm. The comic book Snyder, however, said that he did not accept the job because, quote, I had a lot of jobs ahead of me and I can't deal with people confusing us anymore. But that's fun. Look, that's funny and fun. But
it's funny. I haven't seen a lot of confusion because most of the people who know him know better. Mm-hmm. Although internationally, that may be the case. I don't see that in my Twitter feeds or anything. Very possible. Here's one thing I will say: if those two were on the phone for 4 fucking seconds, it's probably the best thing that's happened in a while.
Probably, yeah.
I don't care if they exchanged 7 words between them, emails. It was probably relevant and should be contributive. Mm-hmm. In any case, what I'm saying is I just want those two to communicate. Like Scott Snyder is, by the way, he's trying to work himself into creator-owned content. Mm-hmm.
He's already got a lot of that, but Yeah,
he does. But he's trying to get his focus over there, and a lot of his time has been tied up in DC for a while, and for good reasons. And to my review version of it, to great effect. It's been phenomenal stuff. Like genuinely, just historically, we will remember Scott Snyder's name in 50 years as DC fans if we're still here. But he wants to get into some creator owned and expand and do some other stuff. And great, dude, stretch your legs creatively. I get it completely. But not that I wouldn't have loved this project because fuck yes. But if it went the other way and Scott Snyder got to talk to Zack Snyder about, some stuff that maybe would look good if it appeared, oh, fuck yes. Like, I just want those two in the room, in the same room or in a conversation as much as possible is what I'm saying.
No, yeah, I get it. Me too. That'd be awesome.
It excites me. It excites me in so many ways.
Now at CCXP we had Andy Muschietti, the director of The Flash, and there wasn't a lot said. Honestly, we found out yes, his new suit will be made by Bruce Wayne, and they're going to take us where DC has never gone before. Blah blah blah. Cool, cool. What I was way more interested in, though, weirdly, was a couple of weeks ago George Clooney was talking to Empire, and he said in reference to this, it's funny. You'll notice they didn't call me. Somehow I didn't get that call. They did not ask for my nipples. He says, listen, there are certain things you never know. This one, I know. But look, man, George Clooney is one of the biggest stars in the world. All right. We've seen the man's acting chops.
Oh, he's earned it.
Now, here's the thing. If they were to call him, and I have no reason to believe they have, I don't believe they have. But if they did, and they wanted him to be Batman again, and they said, here's your chance for redemption, Ryan Reynolds. Let's do Batman again. But you're going to be a badass Batman, et cetera, et cetera. I think you can handle it. And he'd be like, hell yeah, I could probably handle that shit. And then the next piece of that puzzle would be make sure this does not get leaked in any capacity. This one has to be a surprise badass thing while you were in the theater or while you were sitting at home watching on HBO Max, however you take it in.
Hold on. You did say Ryan Reynolds a second ago.
I know. I was joking because Ryan Reynolds had redemption with Deadpool.
Just making sure. Okay.
Yeah. No, I'm talking about George Clooney.
All right.
Like if they went to George Clooney and they said, it's time for your redemption, like Ryan Reynolds, you can be Batman again. And
sorry, Ryan Reynolds is like a slime mold. He just gets everywhere in every universe. So just making sure.
I mean, wouldn't doubt it if he's in there.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I mean, I would love to see Clooney come back and redeem that role. I absolutely would, because when he was announced, I was like, hot damn, he could make it work. He really could. Like, though he had been very sullen, very dark at times on ER.
Mm-hmm.
Shortly after it was announced, I saw an episode of ER where like Juliana Margulies goes up to the rooftop and it's snowing, and freaking Clooney is just standing there with like dark circles under his eyes in the dark with it snowing. And I was just like, oh, this is going to be the best Batman movie ever.
Mm-hmm.
And then it wasn't. Clooney can pull that shit off, I'm telling you. But they would just have to keep it quiet. They could not let it get out on the internet that this was happening. Mm-hmm. It would have to be a surprise, because the fans would flip out in a way most unbecoming.
Oh no! All right. So in my version, it's just a scene where like Clooney's working on something really hard,
mm-hmm.
and Affleck shows up, and there's just a relevant piece of information about Darkseid that is passed or something.
Mm-hmm.
And as Clooney stands up from the back computer, they kind of have a moment, and he looks down, and like they both look down, and like Affleck just says like, "Why?" And Clooney just says, "Long story." And they just kind of bail on the whole thing.
No, I don't want any reference to the nipples. I want Clooney to show up as a badass Batman.
Oh, my favorite for him would be if he just shows up as Bruce Wayne. He was a phenomenal Bruce Wayne. Sorry,
he was, but I want him as Batman, like proper, like
in uniform, the whole thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I don't want to just do like Smallville, freaking Tom Welling, and no. I want to see him in uniform.
I'm not trying to depower him or anything or any of that. I'm just saying like he was one hell of a playboy. Like have him just any version of Batman show up and find Bruce Wayne at a party somewhere, and George Clooney's Bruce Wayne turn around and say like, I know what you're here for, and here's what you need to know, and explain it, and say like, I have to go back to tricking all these people into thinking I'm not a piece of shit.
No, I would love to see like, I don't know, some sort of situation where we get like Keaton, Clooney, and honestly just have Val Kilmer. I don't know if he can talk now yet or not. I don't know.
I don't think Val Kilmer's on the table, man.
Oh, I don't think he is. But just like, I would love to see him just over in the corner, like working on something like, yeah, we're all here.
It is not going to be like, that dude is having some medical trouble. It is not going to be.
I know he is. But like sincerely, like I would love to see
grab a scene from The Saint or something and throw it in there.
Oh, I don't know about that now, but I mean, he was just in some sort of like
retrofit something.
Like seriously, like Kilmer was just in like last year he was in some kind of short film or something where he had a multicolored Batman mask on or something. But so he's doing stuff. Yeah, I would love to see some like short, it's a Flash movie. I don't want too much Batman, but I would love to see like almost a precursor to what we finally get, where it's just like, we see like, Affleck and Keaton, who are the two main Batmen. They interact with Clooney. Maybe we see Kilmer in the background doing something or something.
Oh, actually, can I pitch you something real quick?
What's that?
Just with Kilmer, so far in the same scene. Just what if there's like a moment where they flash over like a Kilmer version? And again, I hope the guy's doing fine, but he's having some problems. And you just go over to him, and they're showing that he's having some problems. And be like, yeah, so this takes its toll.
Mm-hmm.
And they just show like the Val Kilmer version for a second.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't like, that was a similar idea. Like for a while, I was thinking like, man, it would be really cool if they did like a Back to the Future 4 and they explained the Parkinson's as like part of the time travel side effect.
Yeah.
Like he wound up time traveling way too much. But
that'd be a weird explanation for Parkinson's.
Well, I mean, you don't have to say it's Parkinson's. You could just the visible unsteadiness and stuff. Like, but anyway,
it makes no more sense than anything I just said.
No, it's all science fiction.
I'm just laughing. It's fine.
But yeah, no. Anyway, but I totally want a scene where it's like Reverse Flash or somebody. Some villain is like, it's the Flash. And then like we basically do like Doctor Who 50th, like which Flash? Like all of them. Mm-hmm. It's just have like multiple you have Gustin in there, have Ezra in there, have John Wesley Shipp, and just like as many people in Flash costumes running around as possible.
You don't know how much you want some parts of death metal right now.
Oh no, I do. I read what happens mostly. I like sit and read little synopses and go, oh.
Spoilers aside, especially there's a scene with Maxwell Lord, not Maxwell Lord, Max Mercury. That's just, I read that scene and thought, oh, God damn, David's going to love this.
Excellent. All right. So, over at, the CCXP panel for the Suicide Squad, James Gunn revealed that the cut is almost done, and they're basically just working on post-production elements. He says everything has been going really, really well, but the movie is completely done in terms of the cut of the film. It's really just working with the visual effects that are left, and the music and the sound, so we're close.
Cool.
Someone started a rumor that Green Arrow was going to be in the Suicide Squad, and James Gunn's response, it's nonsense. So no Green Arrow.
Should be, yeah.
And this, I kind of want to put it on a t-shirt, honestly. John Cena was talking about during one of the CCXP panels. He said there was a day where we shot on a rooftop where we're all eating. I had to eat an empanada. I took it upon myself to try to eat the entire empanada in a seamless take, thinking that it's going to look great. But it was also a complicated shot for James. 31 empanadas later, Jesus, we got it right. When asked if the scene caused him to vomit, he said, I think 32 would have been the old heave-ho, but I was able to just relax and unbutton. But then people are going to see the movie and nobody's going to care. So please, remember the empanadas. I want to make a shirt that says remember the empanadas.
Remember when I impregnated myself with empanadas.
He also says the Suicide Squad is quite graphic. Mm-hmm. He says it's gonna make you shit your pants. So bring a change of pants because you are not ready. Whatever that means.
Only thing about that quote that cracks me up now is I don't have to bring anything.
That's true.
You just pause it. No change.
Yep.
I may still shit my pants.
Yeah.
Just different outcome.
Yep. Kat Vasco has been hired, according to THR, to work on the Plastic Man script. And according to the sources, it is now going to be a female leading vehicle. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that means Plastic Man will be female or if it will just be like a bunch of ladies teaming up with Plastic Man.
It was a bit ambiguous. Yeah.
It was a bit ambiguous. They didn't say Plastic Man will be female now. Now apparently she's known for adapting Queen of the Air, the story of trapeze artist Lillian Lietzel. It has Margot Robbie attached to star. She also re-teamed with Margot Robbie for the adaptation of Jen Phillips' novel Fierce Kingdom. She's got a bunch of stuff going on. The Boom comic book Lumberjanes, which is also being developed as an animated series for HBO Max. Mm-hmm. And she's got something with some kind of fairy tale thing going on at Disney Plus with Olivia Cook. J. Scotty St. Clair says, with it being reported that HBO Max is adapting Plastic Man as a female character, which is not what they reported, by the way. It was ambiguous. Do you think they will adjust the Patrick Eel O'Brien origin, or will it be a completely new character with their own origin? Do you have a strong preference? Piggybacking off of my favorite Plastic Man question, which other lesser known or more prominent DC characters might benefit most from a reimagining, be it gender, race, or origin otherwise? Given the multiple versions from the comics, I think Robin is a character ripe with potential. The only potential downside I really see will be the comparisons to Marvel's Kamala Khan. That's why I hope they embrace the character's criminal background. Now, I'm going to say, yes, give me all the versions. I want all the things. Okay. I'm not offended by the notion of Plastic Man being a woman, if that is what's happening. Do I prefer it? No. No, I want to see Plastic Man. I want to see I want to see Plastic Man.
I mean,
I don't want to see Elastigirl from the. If I want to watch The Incredibles, I'll watch The Incredibles.
I get that. It's also it's slightly irrelevant to me. More important is the origin story of the the turnaround from crime. So I get that. I get that being the important part. But honestly, everything I love about the character, the flippancy, the like even parts of the character that I really respect, where like Plastic Man is at some points left alone on the watchtower to keep watch.
Yeah.
Like they trust this person. The gender makes absolutely no fucking difference there.
It doesn't. Not really.
So, I mean, Plastic Woman would by no means be a problem for me, but I actually that is more important for me. Like if they make it a situation where this is a person with a criminal background. I do love one of the origin stories of it where like the Batman's the one who kind of turned heel around. But just the rise of the character is more important for me than anything else.
Right. And, I can already see being really excited if they cast someone like Kate McKinnon.
Oh, fuck yeah.
There are plenty of female actors I would be down to see play a female version of the character or even a male version of the character. I don't give a shit. But
what's her name? Shit. I should know this off the top of my head.
I don't know.
I'll find it. Keep talking. Sorry.
But I do think
at appropriate time.
My main opposition, other than just seeing or just wanting to see a closer adaptation to what I know, as we're bound to want, is I don't need the controversy. There are a lot of female characters that could do with a superhero movie. There are lots of great female superheroes out there. And what would suck to me in some regards and makes little sense in business capacity would be, you have some little girl goes to see Plastic Woman or whatever and goes, well, I like that. Let me go and check out some of the comics. And then it's like, oh, it's Plastic Man. Well, I don't care about that. Like, why not direct them to, a Black Canary solo or,
Oh yeah, no, I get that.
You see what I'm saying? Like, it's just it's weird to me.
I mostly say these things aren't zero sum. Like when one thing gets produced and someone says, well, why don't we have this instead? I mostly would like to explain to people it's not zero sum. Like as long as the thing that they're making is going to make them money, they will probably make it.
Right.
So there's that, but there's also if you want a niche version of a character, you can't necessarily be that upset if the more popular version of the character gets made instead, because that's where they're going to get. And also that doesn't mean that we're not going to get to another version of some characters, like in some cases, maybe a stepping stone. Yes. And, you look at some of the trends of how these characters play off, and for sure, there's some stuff societally we could probably look at. But, it doesn't mean that any one of them necessarily is invalid. They've all meant something to someone. Like, and L. O'Brien, that was, a dude that was a pickpocket coming up, that meant something to him too. It doesn't invalidate something. It doesn't take away from something when it's presented a different way. And I mean it both ways.
Right.
All that being said, I just looked up her name, and I'm sorry I didn't remember her name, but I want Caitlin Olsen to be the female Plastic Man.
I don't know who that is. Who is that?
Dee from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Oh, I can see that.
This is maybe my favorite casting that I've ever proposed. This is my shining moment as a casting director.
Okay. Well, that's pretty good.
I'm pretty happy with it.
I prefer Kate McKinnon.
Nope, Caitlin Olsen. I picked my camp. I'm standing in it. I want this now. I think I want it more than L. O'Brien, the dude. I think I want her to do it. Well, she is phenomenal, man. I mean,
I know
you've seen her in It's Always Sunny. The Mick, oh God, she's so good. She's so fucking talented. Oh, she's can do good. This role.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I mean, I'll watch whatever they do, and I'll see what they do and judge it based on my own subjective opinion. And, none of this is, in stone. Back a few years ago, we were talking about, they're doing a Plastic Man movie and Ben Schwartz wants to play him. Cool. I'd still be on board with that. And then, there's plenty of people out there is like, Jim Carrey or bust. I'm like, dude's like 60, but okay. Okay. Importantly, though,
still super talented at being what he is at 60.
Yeah. But the thing I like about Plastic Man, though, is not really even the redemption story, but the fact that he's a perpetual redemption story, but he's also probably the most powerful person in the DC universe.
Oh no, so there's
low key, no one thinks about it, but
stuff
he totally
that's
is.
Deceased made good use of that recently, and I'll just stop myself there.
All right. I mean, there was I think it was a Morrison run, maybe. I can't remember exactly who it was. Maybe I'm wrong. But there was a run where...
A corrupted Plastic Man, though, let's put it this way, is formidable.
Oh, yeah. There's a run somewhere where Manhunter was corrupted and was just taking everybody out. And the only person that could take him down was Plastic Man. And he had retired. He said goodbye to his kid because he thought, I'm going to die now.
Nice.
And... went up against Manhunter, who couldn't read his thoughts because he's plastic. And let's not forget, friggin' Dark Knight Strikes Again, Miller pointed out, had Batman be like, Plastic Man could kill us all. He's the most powerful being on this planet. He could kill everyone.
All right, I'm not going to actually, I'm not going to pimp anything, but Deceased makes good use of that.
Awesome. Well, I think it's time to go to break. And then when we come back, we'll talk about a little bit of TV and more listener feedback. All right, we are back. We have relieved ourselves.
What's that?
Did you see these Starfire pictures?
Oh,
oh my gosh, that they released for Titans?
Yeah.
I mean, we waited 2 years for this costume. I feel like it was worth it.
Yeah, it feels like we were, deprived in certain ways. When are you going to make her actually kind of get into the comic version to some extent? And, not that the actress didn't absolutely sell me on, I'm could not be happier with the role. But when are we going to see this? And then we finally do see it, and they just honestly knocked it out of the park like they have so far. Look,
I'm all for different iterations. They're all valid, et cetera, et cetera. But you know what? I grew up in the 90s, early 2000s. I was there for X-Men, where suddenly every superhero had to be wearing black leather. They couldn't actually wear what they had, anything remotely close to what that was in the comic books. I want costumes. I want costumes. I don't need a hoodie, and that's fine. But no, I want costumes.
Yeah,
unless it's White Canary and Legends of Tomorrow, and that costume is awful.
Dude, I get it to some extent. I can get along with you when you're just doing a Grady take kind of thing. I'm fine with that. But this looked fantastic.
Yeah, this looks great. It
was good, and really. Really close to the character. A lot of good nods.
Yep. Let's see. Over to Stargirl. Alcoya Brunson has been cast for Joaquin Thunder, and that's cool. I want to see this. In all honesty, I hope Jeff Johns isn't running the show at by this point, or based on what I've heard now.
I mean, yeah, we're at that point in the narrative of things, but yeah, I like where they're going with that otherwise.
And this comes after an announcement earlier that Jim Gaffigan would be voicing how do you say this? YZ. How would you say that?
How's it spelled?
YZ, the Thunderbolt.
Literally YZ. Okay.
Yeah, the genie who joins forces with him in the comics.
I think I'd go with Ease.
You think Ease? I was wondering if it was yes. Yes, the Thunderbolt. I've never actually heard it said out loud, I don't think.
Ease or Ease, maybe? Yeah, it's a guessing game, though.
So in the comics, Joaquin is the second human to summon and control the Thunderbolt after the original Golden Age hero, Johnny Thunder. And as Johnny's mental health declines, he puts the Thunderbolt inside of an ink pen, which, through a series of events, is unintentionally given to Jakeem by Jay Garrick. After gaining control of whatever, Jakeem goes on to join the Justice Society of America and factors into multiple major DC Comics events in the process. That's all dope. I've just never known how to pronounce the genie's name.
That's fair, though.
Let's see. Stargirl is now on HBO Max.
Mm-hmm.
So, for anyone who was wondering, when you haven't checked in 7 days.
Full episodes or CW episodes?
No, it's the full
real
episodes.
Okay,
yeah.
Just making sure.
I think only the first, I think it was just the first episode that was a little different.
I think I kept hearing that they were like truncated by a few seconds here and there, which is, really believable, frankly. I mean, not even anyone's fault here, a little bit believable. Like, yeah, you've got to do it to air with different commercial sizes a little bit differently sometimes.
Yeah, that makes sense. A recent interview with Casey Bloys, the chief content officer for HBO Max, indicated that they would be taking a page out of Netflix's playbook. He says, "We are going to work to see DC content in other countries outside of the U.S." One of the big themes of bringing HBO Max together was breaking down the silos between HBO, Warner Brothers, and TBS and TNT. I'd say one other silo was international. One of the things that we're going to do with Max is that all of our international productions will eventually live on Max, and we're going to do a much better job of coordinating between all of the folks programming in Europe, Latin America, and Asia. So if there's anything that we're developing that has real cross-border appeal, we'll be able to highlight that. I'm down for that.
Yeah,
I like that Netflix has done that. I've enjoyed many an otherwise foreign television series.
Yeah.
Into the Effing World was phenomenal. I have enjoyed what pieces of I can't remember the name of it now. It's got Ron Weasley from Harry Potter and Nick Frost in it, and it's really good. I don't remember what it's called now.
I didn't see it either, but that's gonna bother me. I gotta look that up later.
It's like Ron Weasley pretending he has cancer.
I know. I saw it.
It's good.
That's really gonna piss me off.
Every episode is just like, you need a stress ball to watch the damn show because they keep almost getting caught with all their various schemes and stuff. It's good. It's funny and it's good. But yeah.
I'm looking it up now. Okay.
I can't remember what it's called.
I'll find it just as you were.
All right. So Black Lightning is ending.
yeah, there's that too.
I won't lie. I did a dance.
Why a dance?
I did a dance. But you know why? Because they announced Painkiller. They announced Wonder Girl. It was like,
okay.
They just kept announcing things, and I was just like, oh. Now, my wife did a dance, but because she hates the show. She's just bored by it. She just doesn't like it. Which, I get. It is more slow moving than some of the others.
Yeah, and just occasionally deals with like character arcs that I just can't. I don't know, man. Just some tropes every once in a while that I don't care about, like
Lynn being a drug addict.
The drug addict on a CW show in particular, where they can't really actually show it like it should be shown.
It can't be a real drug. It has to be green light.
Up, or if it is a real thing, it has to be downplayed. Like it honestly, like reminds me of like the breaking the CC code originally and just showing Speedy with a needle in the arm kind of thing. Fuck yourself. We're gonna do what we need to do kind of thing. I don't know.
Right. Which in a way it bugs me the same way it bugged me. Charlie and Lost used some sort of weird fictionalized version of heroin that doesn't work. Because we can't show real things.
Methanope.
I don't know what it was. Yeah, I don't know. It just wasn't right. It was
made that one up entirely, but
yeah, I mean, I don't know. You know more about drugs than I do. I don't know what that says about you, but
it says I have a degree in
drugs
and also a lot of extracurriculars. So anyway,
so Salim Akil says, when we first started the Black Lightning journey, I knew that Jefferson Pierce and his family of powerful black women would be a unique addition to the superhero genre.
Mm-hmm.
The love that Blurs, that's black nerds, and all comic book fans around the globe have shown the series over the past 3 seasons proved what we imagined. Black people want to see themselves in all their complexities. And, honestly, a lot of white people want to see that too. I like the show for the most part. Thank you to the phenomenal cast, writers, and crew without whom none of this would have been possible. Et cetera, et cetera. And he says, while season 4 may be the end of one journey, I am extremely excited to usher in a new chapter and continue collaboration with the CW as we tell the story of Painkiller. So, this sounds like the show is really just evolving away from the Pierces.
Transitioning.
And yes, and there might be another factor to that because China Ann McClain, who plays Jen on the show, came out and had a very long, very, cryptic and somewhat annoying live stream where she explains that, this is going to be our last season of Black Lightning, but what everybody didn't know is that, I am not coming back. I was only coming back for a few episodes this season because I'm leaving the show. This was going to be my last season regardless of whether it went on or not. And then she says, for different reasons that if we're being honest, I don't want to go into, which I'm like, okay, that's fine. Mm-hmm. And then she continues to be more and more, keeps being cryptic, but keeps giving us a little more, talking about, weird stuff about, Hollywood is all fake, and it felt like she was having some sort of weird breakdown. I don't know. I don't know. She just kept talking about God and God's mission and what she's going to do now and is more important. That's fine. That's great. But it kind of made it seem like there was something going on. She does iterate, repeatedly. There's nothing. The show was great and the CW was great. But I kind of don't believe her.
I don't know.
I don't know.
To corroborate even, there's the Stephen Amell video where it's just kind of it's emotional, but it's also, this happened slightly sooner than I was necessarily expecting it. Mm-hmm. Or at least was executed faster.
Yeah.
Maybe that's just a little bit of how they run the show. Yeah.
But you know what? She says, she says there's been a lot of things to happen over this quarantine. I'm not talking about the PC side of it. I'm not talking about that. These things are real. And the way of the world now is real. All of this is an illusion. This industry for what it is and everything that people look to and praise is not important. Well, no, it's not. We all knew that. Well, most of us did. All of us logical.
As you're talking, people. I'm kind of digging what she's going for here.
Yeah. I mean, it gets a little weird.
It's all... And I think this is a fact. It exists in kind of a stock bubble. It's worth what it's worth. But worth is amount of, strike price. What it sell for at last. Well, that's its worth.
But I have to wonder whether or not she's gone unhinged or not. I don't know. I mean, I'm a man of faith. I can't blame her for wanting to, as she puts it, go where God leads her. That's great. That's fun. Now, I do wonder, though, if this has had any bearing on whether or not Black Lightning was going to continue. Because if she went to them and said, I'm only going to be in a handful of episodes this season, I don't want to continue on the show after that. Mm-hmm. And then, so everyone was like, well, that's the whole show, though, is me, you and Anissa, and okay. Or if, let's be completely fair, the show has not had a real arc every season. It has had one continuous arc throughout the entire series.
Yeah. Which would normally be a good thing. And
yes.
Even in this show is very much a good thing in certain ways.
But I'm also kind of done with that arc. I don't want to, let's wrap it up. Let's wrap it up. And, Odell and I want to get into Tobias. It looks like we've had pretty well had an into Odell and that situation. Yeah. Now Tobias, we've got Tobias.
I don't know, a very fascinating character. I could do with
and then
as much of that.
The raising
as much of that as I get, really.
Yeah, well, let's do Tobias and the lady raising people from the dead and wrap it up. That's my...
I mean, Painkiller had a pretty good... I don't know, man. I'm not opposed to...
but Painkiller's getting his own show.
Story. I don't know, but that's what I'm saying. I'm not opposed to that at all. I just...
Painkiller stabbing Odell and then, or shooting or whatever the hell he did and walking off into the distance, that was the season 3 exit for Angel and Buffy. Yes, he's gone. He's going to his own show.
Yeah.
Which we know that he's going to have a backdoor pilot on this season of Black Lightning. So
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm not necessarily opposed to continuing a lot of the storylines that were there, but yeah, some of them bored me pretty deeply in places.
Mm-hmm. No, I'm totally for it. Like, and then, with Supergirl ending and with Black Lightning ending, a lot of people are saying like, well, we set it, and like Kate Kane's not there anymore. They're like, oh, everything we set up in Crisis with them in the Hall of Justice has been undone this season. Like, there's not
undone.
There's no Supergirl.
I get the feeling that it's been compromised. Probably.
I don't think it's been. The best case scenario is these people get to go have their lives, and then when there's a crossover, they can show up, or they could do a movie of the week, or whatever the hell they want, and then they all team up again. Maybe not Ruby Rose, obviously, but
probably not. That's what I meant by compromised, I guess, is there are just new variables now that I don't think were there when we were talking about this.
Honestly, what would be great is if the next time we see the Hall of Justice, there's a Batwoman, Black Lightning, and Supergirl memorial next to Ollie's, and Ollie's just standing there staring at it going, well, that went to shit. Barry's just like, that did not work out.
I just like the idea of somebody terrible. Well, we all made choices. Like, that's a Harry Wells line kind of thing. Like, well,
we have more memorials than chairs. Where's this Wonder Girl we're talking about here? Let's bring her over.
Could you imagine actual Harrison just turning back to everyone and saying, is there anyone here who actually doesn't think we need to rethink how this went down?
I want to see Stargirl.
Raise your hand. Raise your hand right now if you think that this is okay.
I want Stargirl to look at her new chair in the Hall of Justice and go, Is this a Stargirl window cling that you have over a Supergirl logo?
You literally used a dry erase marker on some saran wrap. I feel like I deserve better than this.
Well, I mean, there are those rumors that there's going to be a new Supergirl on Superman and Lois.
Oh, it could happen.
Yeah, if they have,
dude. I mean, think about it.
They have Saturn Girl die or something.
Superman, and then what is that, episode 201?
Oh, I know.
It was.
I'm saying, kill off Saturn Girl, or we just find out, shit didn't work out or something. They don't have to kill her, but
right.
Supergirl decides, my future's in the future with Mon-El. And guess what? We have an opening for a Supergirl on Superman and Lois, and subsequently an opening to fill that seat. We have Javicia Leslie coming in to play Batwoman, and quite frankly, from the teaser, she looks like a whole lot of fun. Looks like a Batwoman that would be much more lighthearted.
Some of the behind the scenes that I've seen, and probably 20 seconds, just a couple tiny clips, were really fun.
Yeah.
Like getting, yanked up, like 15 yards?
Yeah. I'm looking forward to it. I am looking forward to it. And probably more than I would have if Kate Kane had returned. I like the idea of someone this lighthearted popping in. Like, it would be like if Ollie had suddenly gained a sense of humor in season 2 of Arrow.
You just like the energy.
I do. I like the energy. I like that. I like that energy. It's sort of what Terry McGinnis brought a little bit of, to the dark, gritty Gotham. Like, I need a little Spider-Man.
Kind of a Wally West thing too.
Yeah. Not CW Wally, but
just
comic book Wally. Yeah. Or Justice League Wally or whatever. Anyway. So we'll see. I did do a little dance, though. I did when Black Lightning was canceled. It wasn't canceled. They said they're ending. It sounds like they're doing it on their own. Like, if it had just been canceled with no ending, I would be very displeased. Yeah. But,
that'd be very different for me, too. Like, ending at a certain time is the best case scenario.
I am a huge proponent of tell your story and get the hell out.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
There was no part of me that wanted Black Lightning to become the next freaking Supernatural.
Yeah.
Like, okay, we told our story in 5 years. Now we're going to go on for another 7 years. No. Bad CW. Bad.
I get that. Yeah, like to actually end something, I think is admirable in a lot of ways. But I get why there's a little bit of a backlash of like, well, it's not really being ended; it's canceled. I get how the story reads that way, but no, I think it's just actually maybe ending. Like, I think there's a plan, and they're gonna make the most of that plan.
I think they may be pushing it along a little bit because Jen is leaving. Honestly, that's the feeling I get, but I'm fine with that.
Yeah, you could do a lot without that in the show. It'd be okay.
Okay, so moving over to The Flash, they had the production was paused again after a team member tested positive for COVID-19.
Right.
The team member was asymptomatic, but was confirmed via the significant testing protocols that Warner Brothers TV has in place. So they temporarily suspended production and initiated contact tracing, and the series is reportedly looking into adjusting its production schedule so filming can resume without those who have been directly affected. So that's a 2-week-old story. So they might even be back now. And we have to assume these things. The CDC just changed some of their protocols. There's like 10 days now for certain situations. So
yeah, but it was partly because 14 days was apparently so insurmountable that some people weren't doing it. So they thought if they lowered it to 10, it would work better.
Now this is exciting. David Ramsey and John Diggle himself. Man, I just want to hug that guy. Seriously, every time I see him, I just want to hug him.
No, I get that.
Like a big old teddy bear.
Yeah.
Even though he's a liar, his character is anyway. We made no bones about it. John Diggle always had the worst advice. Like, you can't tell her always.
I know what you should do. You should lie to them.
Don't. If you tell her the truth, Oliver, she will never trust you again.
Yeah. I know the only thing that could possibly gain their trust back is telling them the truth. But what you should do is lie to them instead.
Yeah. No, he's a good guy, good character. Yeah. And he is going to be coming back. He is going to be directing 5 episodes in the DC universe, including the new series Superman and Lois and an episode of Supergirl. And then he will also be guest starring in 5 episodes across the Arrowverse. He's going to be coming back as John Diggle in Superman and Lois. Remember, they were going to Metropolis at the end of Arrow. Supergirl, The Flash, and Batwoman. And then he'll be a mystery role in DC's Legends of Tomorrow. Now, I've seen a lot of people going like, oh, it's Green Lantern. It's obviously Green Lantern. It's obviously Green Lantern. It's obviously. Man, we don't know that. And my first thought really was, how awesome would it be if he came back as frickin' Parallax from an alternate future?
Oh, nice. Oh, that's good.
I want to see that shit so bad. Like, that way the CW gets around they can still make it to where, like, well, he wasn't Green Lantern.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you could do a lot with that.
Yeah, you could.
Yeah, I'm down. I feel like it's going to be much simpler when it actually comes across, but yeah, I'm down.
Yeah, I think it will be. I would love it if he was just Green Lantern, honestly. That would be really cool.
Yeah.
I will say I didn't have help. I did have help. I didn't come up with the idea independently. I did happen to just like at an opportune time while I was reading the article, I looked down and there was a Total Justice Hal Jordan Parallax figure looking at me.
Nice.
On my desk, and I went, oh. So, it wasn't just my own brilliance. I had a toy looking at me.
Very nice.
All right, so New Gods director Ava DuVernay is developing a DC Comics show, Naomi, for the CW. Now, she did DMZ for HBO, which was a DC property, but not DC Universe proper. And, of course, she's doing New Gods. And I say she is doing New Gods. Let's get to this real quick, though. The official logline for the TV series reads, Naomi follows a teenage girl's journey from her small northwestern town to the heights of the multiverse. Multiverse, y'all. They're really pushing it. When a supernatural event shakes her hometown to the core, Naomi sets out to uncover its origins, and what she discovers will challenge everything we believe about our heroes. And DuVernay will executive produce the series and co-write it with Jill Blankenship of Arrow, and Sarah Bremner and Paul Garns will also produce the series through DuVernay's Array Filmworks banner. Ava came out and said, thanks, DC Comics, for believing in the Vision, Barda, Z Hernandez, now Naomi, the third DC project for Array Now. Working hard to bring these ladies to the screen. Thanks to Brian Michael Bendis, who created Naomi, and David Walker, my writing partner, Jill Blankenship, for joining me on Naomi. I love her. So I saw a lot of people saying that New Gods was not happening. New Gods is canceled. She's going to do Naomi now. Y'all, her, like, Array Now. So we talked about this months ago on this show. The news was all over the place. We weren't the only podcast talking about it.
Yeah.
Everyone was tweeting about it. She got a development deal. It was... This doesn't mean anything except that we're going to get more from Ava DuVernay.
Yeah. Nothing contradictory here.
We even had people being like celebrating, going, good. The only New Gods we want to see are Zack Snyder's New Gods. And I'm like, you toxic shit.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. But no, it's still happening. If anything, her tweet is perfect evidence that it is. Barda is the first name she drops. She says the third DC project for Array Now. That means it's still happening.
Yeah. It's still on the table. I mean,
but no, Naomi seems really cool.
Oh no, she is for sure. She's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I like the initial concept of the character and the premise of just like, you know, instead of like I read something where they were talking about like, oh yeah, we just, you know, we looked at it like all the big events, you know, so Metropolis, Gotham, Metropolis, you know, Central City, Metropolis. Like, how about we do a little Midwestern town or whatever where nothing ever happens. Let's dig into some of that. Like, I really like that idea.
Yeah, I like that.
Sort of how like Powerless, that show, Powerless, talked about the flyover states.
Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah.
They would just watch superheroes fly over, going to other big cities.
Yeah, these never get hit. Who the hell cares?
Yep. So yeah, I'm down. I'm down for all of it. We got just a couple of pieces of feedback, and then we can wrap her up.
Mm-hmm.
Pud333 yet again says, I listened to the most recent episode, and I have to say that is the worst Stallone voice ever. The worst. But I was all for it and laughed my ass off. Well, yes.
I agree.
I will say it was not my best Stallone. I have done better. When I generally, if I have a cold,
mm-hmm.
and I haven't done it since I was a smoker, to be fair, but back in the day when I was a smoker and I would have a cold and I had just woken up, no one could beat my Sylvester Stallone or my Johnny Cash
circumstances thing,
or my Johnny Cash.
I mean, oh God, I don't know what a Johnny Cash impression sounds like, frankly.
Oh, I couldn't do it now. It's been too long.
Can kind of hear it in a way, but like, I mean, I can only help you by offering to do a worse one.
Yeah.
And I would rather not.
I would like for you to do a Stallone so that Pud can say that because he said mine was the worst Stallone voice ever. And then it reiterates the worst. So I would like to hear your version because I need an update. I need your name in this Guinness book.
Terrible. Give me a sentence like 5 or 6 words long.
Okay. Yo, Adrian, want to hear a joke?
Okay. I will attempt the worst Stallone interpretation ever. Hey, Adrian, want to hear a joke?
But were you attempting the worst, or were you just attempting to do Stallone and happen to be the worst? That's going to be the decision maker. Because that sounded like Joe Pesci or something.
I don't know what just happened just then. I don't know. I put everything on random.
Uh-huh.
And that's what we got. So yeah, it's going to be terrible.
Okay.
I was shooting for a record.
All right, Henry Cooper says, why was CCXP such a letdown? Because it wasn't Fandom. See, that was the trick. CCXP was a big deal last year. All right. Yeah. So, and everyone was like, oh, it's going to be great this year. And I was just sitting there going, no, it's not. Because they did Fandom. And now what their plan is, now their plan is, let's make sure that all of the other things aren't nearly as good as Fandom. And I'm sorry, but next year you're not going to look forward to CCXP, are you?
I know.
It was telling. It was telling that there was a better clip from Wonder Woman 1984 at the MTV Movie Awards than anything they showed on CCXP.
I think the cyclical nature is slightly on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Let's put it that way.
So, also, everyone just expected too much.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, I saw that too.
I'm on Twitter just popping in every once in a while. I didn't really have a lot to say this week, but I just kept popping in, just seeing people acting like CCXP was like old school Comic-Con, like San Diego style. And I'm like, y'all gonna be disappointed as hell.
Dude, it's what happens a lot, and I mean, I don't want to be a Debbie Downer. Like, I want to be excited about things too, but you know, when you get all your expectations on a thing, and don't get me wrong, like the release of that thing, when you finally see the movie is different, but the expectations about like a glimpse at it, which is really what we're talking about, like a trailer or a teaser or whatever, man, it's just, I think it does a lot for the blood pressure to not put all your expectations on things, especially kind of new formats that we're just, I don't know, we're just working this shit out.
Yeah, but yeah, man. I saw some scoopers. I saw Grace over here and Daniel over here talking about, we're going to get casting announcements and trailers, and I'm hearing things, and we're going to get. I just went.
I mean, there may be some weird truth to it later, but no, probably not.
I mean, they were talking about for CCXP, and that's past. That's over. We know. I'm just like they're going, no,
like
no.
Maybe one of those things where eventually we're like, oh, I understand why they thought that. Even still, just even if they end up being right for some reason.
I'm sure. I don't think they just came up with it out of their ass. They didn't just pull it out and just go like, this is happening.
For sure. I think
some of them do. I'm talking about, Grace and Daniel in particular. But, but I'm also going like, somebody told them something. Like, baby, somebody lied to you because this is not happening. Especially like 2 days after they announced all their slate is going to HBO Max.
I don't know.
They would have announced that at CCXP No, they are actively trying to like make it seem like all the other conventions are not nearly as good as Fandom. And you know what? They're right. It's not.
It was a very specific thing.
Why are they going to keep like lifting up other conventions? Especially now that they can really just start putting this shit out on stuff like HBO Max. Like having all like that, man, having all the videos on video on demand on the second time around, that's where it's at, man.
Yeah.
And I know they took some of those panels and put them on HBO Max. So, I mean, AT&T is kind of going for it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't think they're really in the business of letting other people have their content.
Yeah. I don't think it's going to serve them long term, and I think they're thinking long term.
Anyway, that's it. That's all I've got.
That feels like a pretty good bookend.
Yeah,
frankly.
It does.
Maybe the best one we've ever done.
I feel like Mike Birbiglia up in this hell.
He's really good at that.
All right. Thank you guys so much for listening to all of this episode of DC On Screen. If you did, remember DCOnScreen.com. You can go over there, check out the merch, check out the donate button, check it out a few times if you like. Go over to Patreon. I will be posting some new stuff this month for show. And 620, y'all. It's a round number, so it feels like a big deal.
Yeah.
It's not, but it feels like it. And honestly, quite honestly, hopefully by the time this episode drops, we'll have some new branding. And
I saw it. It was good. I liked it.
Oh yeah, my sister's tweaking it.
Oh, that's
because she tweaked the one that we've been using for the last few years, and I still want to use some of it because I like it.
Yeah,
but she was like, nope, we got to tweak this. This is bothering me, and I'm like, it bothered me too. I was hoping you would offer. It's like, I'm a pretty good graphic designer. She went to school for it, though. She's way better than me. Like, way better. I've
liked everything she's touched. I mean, I'm not sad about this turn of events.
Yeah, no, she did a freaking, and this was for school, and she hates it now. I still dig it. Like, I think it's still on her website. She did a book cover for the just like a fan made book cover for the Nick Hornby book High Fidelity, which is one of my favorite books. Like in my top 5, it's my favorite movie, and man, I want to print that shit out and use it as the book cover for my copy of High Fidelity. I love it. But anyway, yeah, we're done.
All right.
Good on you. Have a good night, y'all.
I'm glad we all made it this far.
Until next time, keep some DC on your screen.
Our intro music is by Jason Goss and Michael Shackelford. Michael's band, Galactic Engineers of Magnetic Sounds, or GEMS, can be found on SoundCloud and Bandcamp. Visit DCOnScreen.com to find our Patreon, merch, contact information, and every episode of the show for free, including crossovers we've done with other podcasts. DC On Screen is a maladjusted production. For more from me and Jason, including sketch comedy, vlogs, parodies, and our improvised web series Hey Guy, visit maladjusted.tv.